under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we have Isla, who's going to read the land acknowledgement.
Recognize that we benefit from living and working within our traditional homelands, and we are fighting for sovereign rights as people. The original stewards of the state, the original Dutch colonists, understand the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of maintaining human freedom. Likewise, Pacifica School District commits to teaching our schools to as we responsible stewards of the state. Game prizes is the best. My favorite game prize is the Marvel figure. The variety show is one of my favorite things. By our table, me and my friends perform the song "We Will Rock You" by Queen. We practiced a lot after school, and the audience enjoyed my singing and their instrument playing. I love art class because and the best activity is selling things out of pizza. I can't wait for next year.
Thank you, everybody. Barbara, can you take the roll?
Trustee Goodall?
Here.
Trustee Bertini? Here. Trustee Duckett?
Here.
Trustee Goodall?
Here.
Trustee Davis?
Here. The district records the audio portion of the meetings. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during the time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. In-person speakers wishing to address the board on agenda items, please complete a request card with your name, address, and the item number and submit it to the board president or vice president. You will be called to address the board and may speak for up to 3 minutes. Virtual speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You will be called to address the board, your microphone will be unmuted, and you may speak for up to 3 minutes. Please note the public is welcome to provide comment to the board. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes unless extended or limited by vote of the board. A maximum limit to 3 minutes unless extended or limited by vote of the board. A maximum of 20 minutes unless extended by the board is allocated for each subject discussed. The Brown Act open meeting regulations under which the board must operate do not allow board members to comment on non-agenda items or information you may bring up that are not on the agenda. Additionally, no action can be taken. However, the board may give direction to staff following a comment. And so we are on number 6, approval of the agenda. And we have a request for the agenda. We'd like to move up the retirees to the first business. There we go. So does everybody agree with that? All right. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the revision?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the revisions. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes by 0.
So the board met in closed session to discuss the closed session item. A, public employee discipline dismissal release complaint, government code section 54957, and no action was taken. Approval of the consent agenda, this is an action item. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable, and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, superintendent, or the public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed in the regular order of business following approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions regarding the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda? I'll second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
We have the superintendent and board special recognitions. And the speaker is Dr. Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. To the Board of Trustees, it is a pleasure to come before you here as we do monthly and acknowledge individuals who have done above stellar service to our community. And so this evening, I have someone very special here who's going to assist the superintendent and board in acknowledging a very, very important parent, his mom. So, Monica Dreisner is the Activities and Volunteer Coordinator for the Ortega PTO. This school year, she planned and organized a variety show. This popular show has many parts, including auditions, practice, dress rehearsal, and the actual show. Monica led each of the many components, and our student performers were so proud of the event. Were you proud? Yes. So proud of the event, Monica also arranged the end of the year carnival, a much anticipated community event. It was a blast. This was the first year the carnival was on the small yard, which made it more intimate and welcoming. Monica made sure that there was a clear map for each activity and plenty of volunteers for games and bounce houses. That was the fun part. Students are still talking about the carnival weeks later. On Wednesdays, believe it or not, you can find her selling ice cream, whether it rains or shines. Like all strong volunteers, the Ortega staff has convinced her to substitute as both. We believe in making sure that everyone feels their commitment when you're available and willing, the coalition of the willing, a paraprofessional, and also a school assistant. Organizer, school assistant, paraprofessional, mommy. Ortega and the Pacifica School District appreciate all the time and work that you put into making the school a fun, welcoming, and safe place for our families and our students. And so on behalf of the Board of Trustees, your superintendent, Dr. Williams, and a very special person right here, Bryce, your son, we would like to, isn't it so wonderful? We would like to present you with this certificate of appreciation. The Pacifica School District Board of Trustees, the superintendent, presents the certificate of appreciation awarded to Monica Dreisner. Thank you for your service and commitment to our students and staff. Awarded this 22nd day of May 2024. Woo. Thank you. Would you like to say something? Picture. Come on, guys. Come on, right? Right around. Yeah. Right. Face this way. Thank you.
much. I really do appreciate it. It's very very exciting thing to do all these things for my trial school, and I blame Tiffany. No, I really wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy working with you and Jenny and Ms. Romo. I just means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're moving on to 10 communications. LSCA. Hello. 2 weeks ago, I wrote a letter to the board with information we wanted to be sure was on your radar. We received acknowledgement of receipt from 4 out of 5 of you. We appreciated the follow-up conversations and engagement from some of you. The superintendent received the letter from one of the board members, which is fine, since she knew all the info and concerns already. LSEA leadership was called in for a clarifying meeting with Cabinet and Dr. Williams. Between the time we sent the letter and the meeting with Cabinet, many of our concerns and questions had been addressed. Was it a coincidence or a result of us sending a letter? Who knows? But we will reiterate, the letter was an information piece for you, the board. With the lack of public conversation amongst board members and engagement with labor partners, it's important we are assured you are informed and asking the types of questions we ask and seeking information too. We are very clear of the communication structure the board desires. However, we will continue to directly contact you, asking questions and informing you of situations. It is our duty as a labor partner to ensure you are able to fulfill your role as board members. You need the full picture from all your education partners, not the filtered versions, to help you set the direction for the district. We have 2 weeks of school left, and many teachers are unsettled with lack of clarity and grade assignments for the 24-25 school year. As I expressed to the superintendent yesterday, one of the non-monetary perks of working in this district is we always know our grade assignments early in the spring. Occasionally, someone will be met with a tweak or a change come August. This year is far different, and I have been in touch with multiple teachers at multiple sites expressing stress and uncertainty. It is now late May, and our district is still looking at staffing efficiencies. Back in early March, we went through the process with the superintendent's budget collaborative. Keep moving my cursor, where we were informed in a transparent and collaborative way. After that meeting, there has now been a shift in staffing that will result in adjustments to grade level compositions. We are still unclear what changed from March to May. Teachers are upset because the news has changed and settled feelings are now stirring up with 10 days left of the school year. The transparent and collaborative budget process is now murky for us. The governor's budget is not what any of us hoped, but we don't think it should be the reason for our district staffing troubles at the moment. So what's the cause? Next week, bargaining chair Rachel Merlot and I will be doing our part on behalf of the students of Pacifica School District. We have been invited by CTA to attend a special training on the state budget and lobby our state representatives in Sacramento regarding education funding and policy. LSEA had our final negotiation session on Monday. Thank you to our LSEA team, which includes our representative Kathleen Beebe from CTA and PSD teachers Rachel Merlot, Gina Arguello, and Morgan Mooney, and myself. In collaboration with the district team, we have ticked many items off our list, and we look forward to being back at the table with you in September. LSEA would like to extend our congratulations to our certificated and classified retirees who are being honored this evening. Making a big life decision is never easy. Charlotte's gonna make me cry. Congratulations. I had more to say, but I said it. Do I just go? Okay, hi. Sorry, PSCA. Okay. Yeah. Okay, hi, my name is Tiffany Hanna. I am one of the newly appointed CSEA co-presidents. Charlene Hilo is our chapter's other co-president. We are looking forward to our roles and addressing the board at future meetings. As our school year comes to a close, I would like to recognize our union members who are retiring after many years of dedicated service. Our schools and community are a richer, better place because of them. Lauren Reynolds, 33 years. Leland Spranza, 11 years. Ron Douglas, 36 years. Peggy Winley, 28 years. Carolyn Lee, 14 years. Irene Yip, 23 years. Frank T, 9 years. Simonetta Abel, 9 years. Barbara Metling, 25 years. Gemma Cobb, 18 years. And lastly, Nicole Sayers, 16 years, our outgoing CSEA president. We are so grateful for all that Nicole has done for our union. We truly appreciate the service, dedication, and hard work of all of our retirees, and we wish them the very best in the coming years. I would also like to acknowledge our above and beyond winners for the month of June 2024. Peggy Winley, paraprofessional working in one of our special day classes at Ingrid B. Lacey Middle School, and Brenda Watterson, school secretary working at the Lindemar Educational Center. Peggy Winley has been a dedicated district employee since 1996. Peggy has served in many positions, including cafeteria assistant, instructional aide, and as a paraprofessional at Ingrid B. Lacey Middle School. Peggy's gentle spirit and quiet nature has helped to make her an exceptional educator in our district's special education program. Peggy's dedication to her students and love that she pours into them will definitely be missed. Peggy also serves as Ingrid B. Lacey's co-site rep and was our chapter's previous Sunshine Committee chair. She is an integral part of the Ingrid B. Lacey and PSD community, and she will be missed. Brenda Watterson has been a valued district employee since 2007. Brenda has served in several positions during that time, including special education health assistant, paraprofessional, school assistant, and school secretary at Lindemar Educational Center. Brenda supports the students, staffs, and families in both our special education preschool program and our independent home study program. In addition to her many regular duties, she often lends a hand with the students when LMEC is short-staffed. Her service and dedication make her an integral part of the LMEC and PSD community. CSE Chapter 128 is proud of all of our above and beyond recipients. Our classified employees are dedicated, hardworking people who care about our students, our schools, our district, and our community. LSCA will continue to shine a spotlight on Pacifica School District's wonderful classified employees. We believe that the hard work, the dedication, and the contribution of our valued classified employees should be celebrated and rewarded. Union proud, union strong. Finally, our negotiations team met with the district this morning, and we have another date set in June. We ask that you remember that we, along with LSCA and LSMA, are your labor partners. We look forward to working with district leadership to make PSD the best it can be. Student board representatives, everybody knows what to do.
Good evening, members of the board and members of the Pacifica School District community. I want to start by saying I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to work alongside students and represent their voice at various meetings. It has been an incredible experience, and I'm so glad I had to be a chance. As a board representative, I was tasked with representing the students and ensuring their voices were heard. Through this experience, I've learned so much about what's happening in students' school days, what they don't like or what they like. As students, we are often the ones that are most impacted by the decisions that are made by the board. Yet we have not been heard until this council was created. It has not always been easy being a student board representative with juggling school and other activities. There has been many challenges and obstacles that we faced, but we worked as a team to try to achieve our shared goal. We had a low turnout at our final council meeting, so I don't have many updates, but with 10 days left of the school year, let me update everyone about what's going on in the at each school site. IBL sixth graders participated in the annual Greek Fest. Last night, IBL held an event to prepare rising sixth graders for the change. IBL's eighth graders are getting ready to graduate, as long as and all the other eighth graders in the district too. Ortega just announced they raised over $20,000 between their basket auction and their raffles. Ortega will have their ribbon cutting ceremony for their brand new field on May 31st at 3:15. Ortega's fifth graders are getting ready to transition into middle school. Valleymar middle schoolers just had their band concert, and Valleymar had their safe routes to school assembly. Sunset Ridge will have their field day on the 29th and their fifth grade graduation on June 6th. Ocean Shore is still celebrating their Ocean Week. Cabrillo had their open house last night, and their book fair is going on. They will also have a pie eating contest on June 3rd. Finally, I would like to thank the superintendent for creating the Student Advisory Council. And I would also like to thank every one of my fellow students and staff who have worked alongside me during this experience. I hope this continues next year and beyond.
People wishing to address the board?
Oh, yeah, we actually have one person. I'm not sure if this is an agenda item, so I think they should go now. I didn't see this on the agenda, so
Oh, no, it's not on the agenda.
they go up front, yeah. Okay, Sam Lean McNabb.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm a mother of two, one who is currently at LMEC and one who is at Ortega. I have here Elia and Michelle with me. We stand before you today to address the vital concerns surrounding the relocation of Lindemar Educational Center, a decision that impacts not only the institution itself, but also the lives and the future of the children that it serves. Our primary focus should be ensuring that this move not only facilitates integration into a less restrictive environment as presented, but also prioritizes the safety, well-being, educational advancement of every child involved. When presenting the move of LMEC to Sunset Ridge and Ortega, there are promises of mainstreaming opportunities. However, there has still not been any discussion about how this process will happen. At the current school site, LMEC has a great relationship with the other preschool on campus, We Play, We Learn, which facilitated effective mainstreaming opportunities. It's imperative that we establish clear plans and channels for collaboration between the LMECs and the schools that they will be integrating into to ensure a seamless transition and effective mainstreaming process. Additionally, the playground safety at Ortega does demand immediate attention. Talks of adequate fencing and a structured recess schedule are imperative to mitigate risks, especially for children that have elopement tendencies. We can't afford to look over the safety of any child. Moreover, the consistency with staff is paramount. The increase in contract hires raises concerns about the continuity of care and the ability to cater to children's specific needs effectively. Adequately hiring and training protocols must be established to ensure that all staff members are equipped to address the diverse needs of our students. Furthermore, the loss of two very valuable preschool teachers, Mrs. Cecilia Ng and Mrs. Maridel Remet, who have dedicated 18 years of their career to build this stellar program, that LMEC is today. Due to the lack of severe communication and collaboration, is deeply concerning. It's not only a glaring indication of the systemic issues that need urgent attention. We really can't afford these setbacks, especially when they impact the quality of education and care that is provided to our children. These teachers possess invaluable experience and dedication, and their departure highlights
the crucial importance of fostering an environment of open communication and collaboration with our educational community. I've constantly heard from staff across school sites that they feel their voices are sidelined, and they often encourage parents to get involved because they believe our voices are heard more than theirs. This sentiment is profoundly discouraging because the expertise and highlights of our staff are equally crucial. We must recognize and value the expertise and perspective of these dedicated staff members as they play an integral role in shaping educational experiences, ensuring the success of our children. In conclusion, the relocation of LMEC does present exciting opportunities for integration and growth, but it also proposes significant challenges that demand immediate attention and action. We must prioritize safety, well-being.
Over the 3 minutes. Sorry.
Thank you.
And then we are on correspondence. Did anybody receive any correspondence? Okay. Then we are board superintendent communications. Linda, do you want to start?
Sure. Let's see, I participated on Monday in the personal tax question review. Also, there was a budget collaborative on Wednesday. I went by Ocean Shore yesterday morning and got to enjoy Oceans 411, which is, I hadn't been there for that this week or weeks, and it was really neat and very immersive, and it was great. It was great to be over there. So thank you also, Ocean Shore, for inviting me. I went to the Cabrillo open house last night, and then also was able to catch the tail end of the middle school kickoff, which was, I was impressed. There was a lot of people there. So it was a really good event. I believe I had a workforce housing meeting somewhere in the last 3 weeks, and that's it.
Well, my life is not nearly as exciting. I've met with the Superintendent Williams, and that's been it for me.
Okay. I attended the Pacifica Collaborative meeting that Mary Beer holds and the Workforce Housing Finance meeting. I think the El Flynn Awards was during the same time period. You were there too. We lose track of time sometimes. The budget collaborative, that was the morning last week. The SPED advisory committee meeting. The partial tax survey review, and last night the Cabrillo open house.
I had a one-on-one with the superintendent, the parcel tax advisory committee meeting. And I joined this morning a CSBA conference on the governor's May revised budget and potential impacts to Prop 98, which funds public schools, and the impact, potentially negative impact that could have on school funding over the next number of years.
I'm just looking at my dates. I've been really busy, both at my personal jobs and then also the school district jobs. Rachel, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I went to the Ortega open house.
Nice, actually.
And I visited the 3 first grade classes. Everybody was just attentive. Some of them were singing in Spanish that Miss Fair was teaching them. Some of them were learning about production and the bird, like where birds can live, like houses and stuff. Then I had my weekly meetings with the superintendent, and then I also tuned in, it's been an Ortega month, to Ortega's PTO meeting. And I really like hearing what's going on in the school instead of like the broad picture. So I think I'm gonna go to the next one too. I wanted to go to Celia's for the LSEA, CSEA get together, and I had to work. Also wanted to do the Oceans 11 But I had to work Monday and Tuesday and Friday, so I don't know if it's still up. Maybe I can, it's still up. Because it's really amazing. I've seen it before. So I'll try to do that. And that's it.
Good evening again. I've had a chance to continue to work with our labor partners in building our relationship. It has been a pleasure as the handoff has been made from Nicole Thayers to Tiffany Hanna and Charlene Hilo. It's been very productive conversations. Also with LFDA, meeting with Megan and Rachel, it has been productive conversations. We are working through building our relationship and our communication, and I look forward to continuing in that process. Also attended the CFDA end of the year celebration, which was wonderful. Had a great time. Had the parcel tax meeting, the budget collaborative, which we are going to continue into next year. We want to remain transparent and collaborative and have conversations that are going to continue to advance our fiscal health and our overall goals and structure within our district. Had an opportunity today to visit Ortega, and I participated in a class about how living things impact the environment. And so I had a chance to take a trip with the students outside, look at how tree branches and roots, how they change the structure of the school, of our city, of our environment. Also with workforce housing, worked with the ad hoc committee in terms of receiving information regarding potential parcel tax, held my standing meetings with the board members, also met with the presidents of PPO and PEP, and just continue to work as being your superintendent and looking forward to another year together. So.
Okay, so this is the part where we're going to skip to the retirees, and I believe that is 12A, right?
Yes.
So we're on 12A.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Dr. Williams. Tonight, I am so happy to bring forth 19 retirement resolutions. Each of the retirees have provided Pacifica School District with many years of devoted service and played a significant role in educating our students. It is fitting on the occasion of their retirement that the district recognize each of them with a resolution of appreciation. An invitation to attend the board meeting was extended to each of the employees. The resolutions will be presented this evening, acknowledging and thanking our retiree recipients for their many years of dedication and commitment to the students and the community of the Pacifica School District. In addition, retirement certificates from the Office of Assemblymember Mark Berman will be distributed to each retiree in honor of each recipient's contributions to the Pacifica School District. After approval, we would like to invite the supervisors or designees to present each resolution. And if you are here today, retirees, when you hear your name, please come up. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve resolutions 2024-0522A through 2024-0522S at this time.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve resolutions of appreciation for retiring employees?
I'll make a motion. I'll second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Our first retiree is Joan Weideman.
Good evening. I just have to show you my T-shirt that I wore in honor of Joan. It's avoid negativity with absolute value. So she appreciated it. Right now, I have to say that we had a retirement party for our staff members, and so that's why they're not here. But I am happy to read this. We're just start right there. Yeah, just okay. Resolved by the Board of Trustees, the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Joan Weideman has been highly successful board member and mathematics teacher in the Pacifica School District since August 21st, 2017. And whereas Joan Weideman has
demonstrated a great sense of teamwork, working seamlessly with colleagues, sharing her wealth of knowledge and expertise. And whereas Joan Weideman has fostered meaningful connections with families and ensured each student received personalized attention required to thrive in the middle school mathematics. And sorry, I just had to do that. Whereas Joan Weideman and her unwavering compassion crafted rich instructional experiences, laying the foundations for countless students to excel. And whereas Joan Weideman has assisted innumerable students in solving multi-step equations and insisted that they show their work, she is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Joan Weideman has fulfilled all her duties and responsibilities as a teacher in a professional and highly exemplary manner. One more. Okay. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Joan upon the occasion of her retirement following 9 years of faithful, dedicated service to the public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Kathleen Stearns. I'm here on behalf of Jean, since she is out of town for her son's graduation. But I've worked for Kathleen Stearns for many years. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Kathleen Katie Stearns has been a highly successful teacher in the Pacifica School District since August 28, 2002, and whereas Katie Stearns has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families, and whereas Katie Stearns brought her love of travel and history into the classroom and inspired her students, and whereas Katie Stearns used her creativity to design engaging projects and orchestrate the annual Ancient History Extravaganza, which I was a part of both times. Whereas with both my kids, Katie Stearns taught her students to question authority and think critically. And whereas Katie Stearns devoted her heart and soul to the alternative school program that became Ocean Shore School, Katie Stearns was truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Katie Stearns has fulfilled all her duties and responsibilities as a teacher in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Kathleen Stearns upon the occasion of her retirement following 24 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. No, I'll send it to her. Yeah. Tom Stafford.
Oh, you want to? We can do it together.
Okay,
We can do it together. We're gonna do this together because Tom deserves 2.
3.
3. Oh, yeah. 4. Dave, 4. We got 4 here. All right. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of Pacifica School District and County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Tom has been highly successful music teacher, 3rd grade teacher, 5th grade teacher, principal, administrator in the Pacifica School District since August 27th, 2002, and
whereas Tom Stafford has enriched the lives of countless number of students and their families, and
whereas Thomas has enriched the lives of our students through the universal language of music, nurturing their talents, creativity, appreciation for the arts, and behind-the-scenes support for all visual arts and performing arts programs, including middle school and elementary band. And
whereas the impact of Tom's steady, reliable, flexible, creative contributions will be felt for generations to come, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of students, colleagues, and the broader community. And
whereas Thomas has created a warm and nurturing environment wherever he was, everyone was welcome. And
whereas Thomas Stafford has provided excellent support to administrators, teachers, staff, families, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in his work and school. Thomas Stafford is truly loved and respected by all. And
whereas Thomas Stafford has fulfilled all of his duties and responsibilities as teacher, principal, and administrator in a professional and highly exemplary manner.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Thomas Stafford upon the occasion of his retirement following 22 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education just in Pacifica. There's 11 more outside.
There's 12 more out.
12 more outside. And extends its best, sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. Regularly passed on May 22nd, 2024.
Kathy Green.
Good evening. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Kathy Green has been a highly successful teacher in the Pacifica School District since January 8, 1997, and whereas Kathy Green has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families, and whereas Kathy Green has provided excellent support to her administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school. Kathy Green, I'm going to change was to is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Kathy Green has provided superb instruction, support, and guidance to a multitude of students and families in the Homeschool Independent Study Program, showing steadfast dedication to the students and families of Pacifica School District, and whereas Kathy Green has provided instruction and support for many students needing to be out of school temporarily for medical reasons, always exhibiting flexibility and a student-centered approach. Whereas Kathy Green has fulfilled all of her duties and responsibilities as a teacher in a professional and highly exemplary manner, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Kathy Green upon the occasion of her retirement, following 27 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Debbie Andre.
Debbie Andre is a fourth grade teacher at Ortega. And so resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Debbie has been highly successful teacher in the Pacifica School District since September 5th, 1996. And whereas Debbie Andre has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families. And whereas Debbie Andre has provided excellent support to her administrators, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school, Debbie Andre is truly loved and respected by all. Whereas Debbie Andre has fulfilled all of her duties and responsibilities as a teacher in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Debbie Andre upon the occasion of her retirement following 28 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Mark Unbehagen.
I specifically asked to read this. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Mark Unbehagen has been a highly successful teacher in the Pacifica School District since August 26, 2013, and whereas Mark Unbehagen has enriched the lives of countless number of students and their families, and whereas Mark Unbehagen has taught countless students the joys of music through singing, playing, and performance as a band teacher of grades 6 through 8 and a music teacher of grades 3 through 5. And whereas when needed to support both the district and especially students in times of trial by stepping into the middle school band position to help transition a new band director into a mid-year position. And whereas Mr. Unbehagen has introduced the music of our entire world through his dedication to build culturally aware and inclusive growth mindsets in his lessons. And whereas Mr. Unbehagen curated and developed a strong music curriculum to help students experience the wonder of creating original musical pieces. And whereas Mr. Unbehagen has supported new music staff members through creating help guides, instructions, and site-specific information for smooth beginnings and for these new teachers. And whereas Mr. Unbehagen has taught 1,000 students 3rd through 5th grade music each week to provide a strong developmental foundation for elementary students as they transition into middle school band. And whereas Mr. Unbehagen dove into remote teaching, providing students and their families a way to connect around music during the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas Mr. Unbehagen has provided excellent support to his administrator, staff, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in his work and school. Mark Unbehagen is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Mark Unbehagen has fulfilled all his duties and responsibilities as a teacher in a professional and highly exemplary manner, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Mr. Unbehagen upon the occasion of his retirement following 11 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Charlotte Jacobs. We're gonna get this together. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Charlotte Jacobs has been a highly successful teacher in the Pacifica School District since August 31st, 1994. She quickly became the champion of school morale, making sure everyone was greeted warmly and knew they had a special place and role at Cabrillo. And whereas Charlotte Jacobs has enriched the lives of countless numbers of students and their families, she ensured that each school and holiday celebration was special, and the Sunshine Committee was always held under her care. And whereas Charlotte Jacobs has provided excellent support to her administrators, her teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work in school, Charlotte Jacobs is truly loved and respected by all. Her friends and colleagues describe her as the core of their group, the glue that held relationships together, always providing regular reminders to keep smiling. And whereas Charlotte Jacobs has fulfilled all of her duties and responsibilities as a teacher in a professional and highly exemplary manner, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Charlotte Jacobs upon the occasion of her retirement following 30 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Don't stop doing all the things. Work hard for them. So we just gave her a 30-year pen.
William Lucy.
That's your role.
Mr. One. So I will say, William Lucy. It is resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, County of California, that whereas William Lucy has been a highly successful Executive Director of Educational Support Services in the Pacifica School District since December 1st, 2016. And whereas William Lucy has enriched the lives of countless number of students and their families. And whereas William Lucy has provided excellent support to his administrators, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, sense of humor, and pride in your work and in school district. William Lucy was truly loved, or is truly loved and respected by all. Whereas William Lucy has spent countless hours supporting the development of the local control accountability plan and supporting principals on their school plan of student achievement. Whereas William Lucy has contributed to the collaboration and professional development of the comprehensive online assessment program, iReady, which helps determine students' needs in reading and mathematics and monitor progress throughout the school year. Whereas William Lucy has expanded the technology program by adding Chromebooks for each and every student. Development of the roles of the library media technicians at the school site, installation of new copiers, whereas William Lucy has demonstrated exemplary leadership and commitment to Pacifica School District by valuing employees' perspectives and opinions, whereas William Lucy has had the ability to make quick decisions under pressure while at the same time being empathetic toward the educational partner affected. Whereas William Lucy has fulfilled all his duties and responsibilities as Executive Director of Educational Support Services in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to William Lucy upon the occasion of his retirement following 8 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. Regularly passed and adopted the 22nd day of May 24th. Congratulations. He always does the birthday dance for everyone.
Nicole Sayers.
Hello. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Nicole Sayers has been a highly successful lead behaviorist in the Pacifica School District since August 22nd, 2008, whereas Nicole Sayers has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families, and whereas Nicole Sayers has led, supported, and advocated for our classified employees as the CSEA and its Chapter 128 president and labor partner. And whereas Nicole Sayers has provided excellent support to her administrators, teachers, staff, and students and families, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work, Nicole Sayers is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Nicole Sayers has fulfilled all her duties and responsibilities over the years as a lead behaviorist in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Nicole Sayers upon the occasion of her retirement following 16 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and it extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Lauren Reynolds.
Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that
Whereas Lauren Reynolds, get the name right, Lauren Reynolds has been highly successful library, media technician, school assistant, paraprofessional, and crossing guard in the Pacifica School District since February the 1st, 1991. And
whereas Lauren Reynolds has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families, and
whereas Lauren has fostered the love of reading in every child that has entered the library, and
whereas Lauren has tutored and supported children so that they see themselves as readers and gain confidence in themselves, and
whereas Lauren Reynolds has provided excellent support to her administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school. Lauren Reynolds was truly loved and respected by all. And
whereas Lauren has spent countless hours setting up amazing and exciting book fairs and recruiting friends and family members to help out. And
whereas Lauren has given her heart and soul to support all children on the playground, in the lunchroom, and in the classrooms. And
whereas Lauren Reynolds has fulfilled her duties and responsibilities over the years as a library media technician, school assistant, paraprofessional, and crossing guard, in a professional and highly exemplary manner.
now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Lauren Reynolds upon the occasion of her retirement, following 33 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding, fulfilling future. Regularly passed and adopted this 22nd day of May, 2024. Oh, no.
Lillian Speranza.
Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Lillian Speranza has been a highly successful paraprofessional in the Pacifica School District since August 26, 2013, and
whereas Lillian Speranza has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and families, and
whereas Lillian has been a calm and supportive presence in every classroom she has worked in, and
whereas Lillian Speranza has provided excellent support to her administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school. Lillian Speranza was truly loved and respected by all. And
whereas Lillian Speranza has fulfilled her duties and responsibilities over the years as a paraprofessional in a professional and highly exemplary manner, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Lillian Speranza upon the occasion of her retirement following 11 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future, regularly passed and adopted this 22nd of May, 2024.
Ronald Douglas.
Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Ronald Douglas has been a highly successful custodian in the Pacifica School District since October 11, 1988. And whereas Ron Douglas has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families, and whereas Ron Douglas willingly did any job from pest control to monitoring students doing campus cleanup, and whereas Ron Douglas
educated the rest of the Ocean Shore staff on the ins and outs of all things involving the San Francisco 49ers. And whereas Ron Douglas has provided excellent support to his administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in his work and in Ocean Shore School. Ron Douglas is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Ron Douglas has now made it to the goal line. And whereas Ron Douglas has fulfilled all his duties and responsibilities as a custodian in a professional and highly exemplary manner, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Ronald Douglas upon the occasion of his retirement following 36 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future regularly passed and adopted this 22nd day of May, 2024. Apparently Ron did not receive his 35-year pin.
35 years. We will get you for your 35 years.
I was made aware.
We'll get them. Thank you. Oh, and your certificate, this is yours.
Oh,
yeah. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And before anybody leaves, there is cake outside for all our retirees. Margaret Windley.
Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Margaret Windley has been a highly successful paraprofessional in the Pacifica School District since September 27, 1996. And whereas Margaret Windley, Peggy, has been a steadfast presence in the classrooms she has graced, touching countless students and their families. And whereas Peggy has proved unwavering support to all she encounters, demonstrating an incredible patience, nurturing, and pride in her work and school. Peggy is truly loved, admired, and respected by all. And whereas Peggy has fulfilled her duties and responsibilities over the years as a paraprofessional in a professional and highly compassionate manner, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Peggy Margaret Windley upon the occasion of her retirement following 28 years of faithful, dedicated service to the public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. Regularly passed and adopted this 22nd day of May, 2024.
Carolyn Lee.
All right, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Carolyn Lee has been a highly successful paraprofessional in the Pacifica School District since 2010, and whereas Ms. Carolyn Lee has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families at the Lindemar Education Center, and whereas Ms. Carolyn Lee has provided excellent support to her administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school. Ms. Carolyn Lee is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Ms. Carolyn Lee has fulfilled all her duties and responsibilities as a paraprofessional in a professional and highly exemplary manner, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Carolyn Lee upon the occasion of her retirement following 14 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Irene Yip.
Irene Yip. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Irene Yip has been a sensational snack bar assistant, satellite kitchen assistant, and child nutrition cook in the Pacifica School District since February 12, 2001, who has a niche for nachos, is a champion of crave-worthy cookies, and was an original organizer of Orange Chicken. And whereas Irene Yip has enriched the lives of a countless numbers of students and their families by going above and beyond the call of duty by helping to provide meals during the COVID pandemic and working during summer school. And whereas Irene Yip has provided excellent support to her administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school, Irene Yip is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Irene Yip has fulfilled all her duties and responsibilities over the years as a snack bar assistant, satellite kitchen assistant, and child nutrition cook in a professional and highly exemplary manner. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Irene Yip on her retirement. May it be filled with leisurely lunches and endless adventures. She will be missed more than words can say, but Irene deserves every bit of relaxation and fun coming her way after 23 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education. Regularly passed and adopted the 22nd day of May 2020.
Frank C.
Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Frank T. has been a highly successful senior maintenance worker and custodian, maintenance groundskeeper in the Pacifica School District since August 17, 2015. Whereas Frank T. has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families and all his peers in the FMO department. Whereas Frank T. has provided excellent support to his administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in his work and school, Frank T. is truly loved and respected by all and will truly be missed. Whereas Frank T. has fulfilled all his duties and responsibilities as a senior maintenance worker, custodian, maintenance groundskeeper in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extend its best wishes to Frank T. upon the occasion of his retirement following 8.5 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Simonetta Abayo.
Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Simonetta Abayo has been a highly successful fiscal technician and personnel assistant in the Pacifica School District since June 1st, 2015. And whereas Simonetta Abayo has enriched the lives of many. And whereas Simonetta Abayo has provided excellent support to her administrator, teachers, and staff, demonstrating incredible dedication, confidence, patience, caring, and pride in her work. Simonetta Abayo is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Simonetta Abayo has fulfilled all her duties and responsibilities over the years as fiscal technician and personnel assistant in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Whereas Simonetta Abayo's generosity and thoughtfulness were her most outstanding traits. She always brought back a gift from her travels, not wanting recognition, would secretly leave the gift so it would be a surprise. Simonetta has a way of being compassionate no matter what the circumstance. She always had the kindest words. She was always a pleasure to work with, enhancing the workplace by sharing her love of ethnic foods. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Simonetta Abayo upon the occasion of her retirement, following 8.5 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Barbara Metling.
Resolved by the Board of Trustees of Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Barbara Metling has been a highly successful attendance specialist in the Pacifica School District since February 25th, 1999. Whereas Barbara Metling has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and generations of families throughout her career. And whereas Barbara Metling has provided excellent support to her administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school. Barbara Metling is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Barbara Metling has gone above and beyond to fulfill all her duties and responsibilities over the years as an attendance specialist in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Barbara Metling upon the occasion of her retirement following 25 years of faithful, dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future, regularly passed and adopted this 22nd day of May 2024.
Gemma Cobb.
Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Gemma Cobb has been a highly successful paraprofessional and school assistant in the Pacifica School District since September 27, 1996. And whereas Gemma Cobb has enriched the lives of countless number of students and their families. And whereas Gemma has provided excellent support to administrator, teachers, staff, families, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school. Gemma is truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Gemma Cobb, due to her kind and generous nature, has been greatly missed by students who often ask about her and wish she still worked at school. And whereas Gemma was a trusted adult who always took the time to get to know each student, providing a safe space for them to share their hopes and fears. And whereas Gemma Cobb has fulfilled her duties and responsibilities over the year as a paraprofessional and school assistant in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Gemma Cobb on the occasion of her retirement following 18 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. Regularly passed and adopted this 22nd day of May, 2020.
And we do have cake. I don't know if we want to have a little break or just step out and.
We're gonna keep moving on.
Okay, I'll step outside for a minute just to.
But can does anybody want to say anything about the retirees?
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you.
There is. Join the cake.
You need to come for a picture. Yeah. They're gonna take a picture of the retirees behind the cake. Go behind the cake.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, so now we're moving on to number 11, information items. And a public hearing. Oh, it's Josie. Okay. A public hearing for 2023-24 budget.
Thank you, trustees. Dr. William, we're going to put the presentation on.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you, Stan. Thank you. So tonight we're having a public hearing on our 2024-25 proposed budget for Pacifica School District. Go ahead and go forward. Oh, good, I can see now. Go to the next slide, please, Stan. Okay, I'll go ahead and move forward. So it's really just the content slide of what we're going to be going over. And then the next slide is, it's not moving forward yet. Can't go forward. So the next slide is really just a reminder of Pacifica School District's ACE, attendance, academics, community engagement, embracing inclusivity and diversity. And then once again, another reminder of the next slide is our system profile that we worked on this school year throughout the year. You can see the learner profile on the left. resilient, creative, empathetic, creative thinker, responsible, respectful. And then we kind of move through the adult profiles and the system profiles. And then going forward, I just want to go through the objective with you. The budget does contain the detailed budgets for the school district and multi-year projections. The board must approve a certification of our financial condition, and it shows the different status, and it's also on the next slide. Positive means we will meet our obligations for the current fiscal year and then forecasting 2 years out. Qualified means we may or may not meet our obligations for the current year and 2 subsequent fiscal years. And negative means that we would not be able to meet our obligations. And then I do have a link to the AB 1200 fiscal oversight for those of you who were on the budgeted collaborative meeting. We did go through that whole presentation during that meeting. So I won't go through that now. Just a little, conversation about the May revises. As Trustee Patel mentioned, the governor's budget just recently came out. I'm going to another conference tomorrow, but the state does have a large budget deficit at this time. And part of that is, when you looked at 2022-23 and they delayed the tax receipts, it did create a big problem for the state because they adopted their budget not really knowing what their revenues were. And then when the revenues came in a year later, which is now 23-24, there was about an $8 billion gap in their revenues. And so they funded 23-24 based on revenues that they thought they were getting in 22-23. And then the tax revenues came in and the state is very short on their budget. So right now, these numbers are preliminary because we have to use the best information we have at this time, and we're going to use the governor's main revision. He can't pass a budget alone. It has to go through the assembly and the state now. And as they go through that process, they won't adopt their budget until June. And then we will have to revise our budget after. So you will see changes at first interim once the state adopts their budget. Just kind of quickly go over where are we now? We're heavily reliant on the state COLA, and you can see the first column shows what his January proposal was. So now we're a little bit better off with a 1.07% COLA versus the 0.76. And then even in the 25-26 school year, there's an increase. But then you go into 26-27, there's a slight decrease in his projections. And we all know it's a dartboard. These numbers could change again in June, and then, we would bring that back to you. Just kind of a review about state revenues. Pacifica School District falls into the LCFF funding. We're highly dependent on state funding. I'll show that to you when we look at our revenues, but our funding is really based on how many kids do we have in their seats every day, and what is the grade level of those kids, and how do we identify those kids. That's how our funding is based. And then you have the school districts that are community funded. Those are the districts that receive more than, the students they have in their seats and how those students are identified. And many, many school districts in San Mateo County are community funded. There's about only 5 revenue limit school districts. When you go to the next slide, you can see kind of the pictorial of where we are. We're in the first bucket where we're dependent on the state funding. We get very little property taxes from the state. And then many of our neighbors nearby are community funded. So no matter how many kids they have, their property taxes exceed what the state funding formula is. And so that kind of puts Pacifica in a very difficult situation, as you know, just being the lowest school district funded in San Mateo County. I wanted to quickly go through a recap of the superintendent's budget collaborative meetings. You mentioned that many of you were there. Just to kind of review, the committee did develop a very good understanding of the Pacifica School District's budget and current financial issues. They contributed to and supported a very transparent budget collaborative process. They provided insight on very important matters that affect the district because we had representatives from all the schools. We had staff, we had parents, and they also made a recommendation to the board through the superintendent, all of their ideas related to reducing expenditures or increasing revenues. We had the budget study session that Saturday after they met and reviewed their recommendations. And the board was able to make some really good decisions on how to move forward with our budget. That was the second interim report. And those recommendations are also now included in this adopted budget. Go ahead and go forward. just to kind of remind us, what were the budget priorities? The first priority was eliminating the deficit. And then we want to provide employee compensation and we want to support our programs. This next slide is a really good summary of all the work that the Budget Collaborative completed and what the final kind of recommendation was after the board study session, after the board reviewed their recommendations, and how we kind of came to some recommendations on building the second interim report and now what is in our adopted budget. And of course, you know, we have to make huge reductions in the current year and years going out because we have been deficit spending. And our first priority was reducing the deficit so we could provide employee compensation. And this is the list of reductions that are included in 24-25 and also in 25-26. And then again, I'll show you the multi-year and I'll show you how it's been updated with these figures and then the current information we have from the governor. So here's just a summary of some of the assumptions, not all of the assumptions, but just to remind you that the school districts do pay a large amount into employee pensions. CalSTRS is the teacher's pension, and the district contributes 19.1% of a teacher's salary into their pension. And for CalPERS, it's 27.8% of a classified employee's salary into their pension. And that's in addition to all of the fixed payroll costs that the district pays for workers' comp, unemployment, those types of things. And then you also have employee step and column. Each year, employees move on their salary schedule. It's called step and column. The cost of certificated is just under $200,000 and classified is about $74,000. And of course, it is, you know, offset by attrition. You saw how many retirees we have today. And so that step and column is somewhat offset by the retirement because you're going to hire a newer employee versus someone who's been here for 36 years. And so the cost will go down with the newer employee. Health benefits, you know, we had an 11% increase in health benefits this year, and it is effective January. So we continue to budget 10% effective January, and that should be January 2025 because the health benefit costs go up in January, and that's a typo. So it's about $240,000 of increases in health benefits. And again, that could be offset by attrition, people coming, people going. We really never know until open enrollment in, you know, November, about that time frame of what the actual health benefits will cost. And then with the increase in January. There is no increase in the other policies of vision and dental. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of property loss throughout the county, throughout the state, and even the country. So your property and liability insurance had increased by $111,000, almost a 22% increase. Another increase is workers' compensation, which was 17%. And that's something we're really working on just really trying to keep people safe at work and getting people to return to work on injury. So those are just kind of the big assumptions. It's not every you know, expenditure in the budget, but just to kind of give you big picture. And also to talk about, like, still, what are the uncertainties in this budget that we're presenting tonight? Of course, we're waiting for the governor's final state budget. And what is the final funding going to be under LCFF? You know, what will the supplemental funding be? That's the funding we receive for our foster and homeless English learners and those economically disadvantaged students. We have to see how many we have of those students and what will the funding be. Again, dartboard projections, you know, we always share with you the governor's projections, and it is kind of a dartboard because it keeps changing each time he brings a new budget before us. Enrollment in ADA, you know, we're still not quite increasing. We're kind of flat, slightly decreasing in enrollment. And our attendance was not strong in the P2. It still went down from what you call period one attendance in December to the April attendance. We were down students. We were just, you know, around 93% attendance. So that's an area we can improve. We don't have our staffing completed. We'll have the staffing completed when we come back at first interim. And the other area is contributions to programs. We all know that special education is based on the needs of the students. As students come and go, we can't predict, you know, the needs of the students that are coming and what programs they're going to need. So the special ed contribution is projected to go up each year. The state is just not funding special education as they should. Federal and state funding is insufficient. We also make a contribution to deferred maintenance because the state doesn't fund deferred maintenance. So in the budget, we're projecting to continue to contribute about $200,000 to fix the things that the bond, not covered by bond funds. And then go ahead and go forward. Here's a big picture of our revenues. Just to kind of, remind you, 83% of our budget is dependent on the state. We get very little federal funding. The other state funding is your lottery funding, mandated cost, very little, it's 9%. Local revenue is 5%. $1 million of that is our parcel tax, Pacifica Education Foundation, interest income. There isn't really a lot of local income coming into our district. And then expenditures, you can see the pie chart of expenditures. 73% is our employee costs. That number really should be higher because we've still been contracting out for services where we don't have the staff to complete those services. Historically, those numbers were really 85%. Employee costs were 85%. So that's low right now. A big part of our pie is benefits because we have a very generous health and welfare package. We also pay for retiree health benefits and we pay for those pension costs. So that's a large amount of expenditures, 28% into the benefits. And then go ahead and go forward. This is a snapshot of our current multi-year projection, and it's the unrestricted portion of the general fund. So in this adopted budget, you can still see a $1.1 million deficit. And we knew this in the budget collaborative. It was 1.3 million at that time. But given some shifts in the COLA and some changes in the budget, it is down to 1.1 million. The next year, it's a $27,000 deficit, and then a positive in year 3. Now, those are based on the governor's current COLAs. As those COLAs change, as some of the assumptions on staffing and expenditures change, you'll see changes when we come to first interim. The one thing that's really important here is we do not have compensation in this multi-year. We have not started talking about compensation for 24-25. So even though you see a surplus in year 3, we really don't have a surplus if we want to provide compensation to our employees. So that's just kind of big picture right now. We know it's going to change. Again, let's consider our reserve considerations. The state says we should have 3%, but the board has desired a 6% reserve because of all of the uncertainties in the budget. For example, fluctuations in enrollment. Our parcel tax is going to be expiring in 2028, so you have to have some reserves in the event that you're not able to renew those things. We have exposure lawsuits. We have 2 current pending litigations, and also to protect us against the changes in state funding. We don't know what the governor's final budget is going to be. So those are just some considerations. I do want to talk a little bit about the other funds the district has. The district does have the Child Nutrition Fund, which serves all the food for the students. That fund is currently self-sufficient. Many years it was not self-sufficient, but with the current funding from federal and state where all meals are free, the fund is self-sufficient, and there are some grants that we've been receiving in that fund. Deferred maintenance, that's where we pay for the paving, plumbing, heating, all of the things that kind of break throughout the year. There is no funding in that fund. It's dependent on the board transferring funds into that fund. And we've been transferring about $200,000 a year. Fund 17 is a special reserve the board designated to put some funds aside many years ago in a special reserve fund. It's in addition to the general fund, and that's about 2% right now. But when I show you the multi-year, I do add that in for full transparency so that you can see your total reserves. And then retiree benefits. In this fund is where we pay for, we put the money aside to pay for the costs of people who retire. If they've worked for Pacifica School District for 10 years, they're entitled to single medical and dental for 10 years. And then being in CalPERS, there's a lifetime cost to the district. And so we currently have about 52 of those retiree employees. We're going to have a lot more after tonight. And then we have 182 lifetime benefits. Now, what's in the fund is really just the amount we've set aside, and we kind of pay as you go. In reality, when you look at the actuary report, we should have about $13 million if you were to fund your current, your obligations into the future. And that shows up every year in the audit report. The building fund is our bond. And thankfully, we just passed another bond measure. So we'll be able to continue the facilities master plan and begin work on the workforce housing. This budget does predict that we're going to have a draw of 12 million in December to continue those projects. And then capital facilities, that's the fund where when there's construction in Pacifica, the city charges a permit fee for improvements to your home or new construction. And that fee is split between the high school district and the elementary school district. And those fees are highly restricted. You really can only use those revenues where you're expanding. And so CC did a great job spending down that balance last year on the Valley Mar D-Wing expansion. And then the last fund is Fund 40. It's another special reserve fund. And that's where we have the sale of site money that when we had sold a property. And also our facility use fees are deposited into that fund. Those are the fees that the board had considered this prior year on increasing and is going to, possibly increase those fees again. And what's charged to those funds are capital projects and also the workforce housing pre-construction costs. So those are the other funds. Tonight, we are self-certifying as a positive certification for our budget. The next steps is going to be at the state level. We want to see what the state's final budget is. We're going to come back to you on June 12th for a budget adoption. And then we'll have some finalization to staffing and enrollment and be able to bring first interim back to you in November. There's one thing I do want to point out when you look at the budget is on the form that I think it's the clerk or the secretary sign. It is called the criteria and standards. And these are the standards set by the state. And you can see there's a lot, there's like 3 pages. But when you see the standards not met, those are fiscal indicators for the board to be aware of. And so I just want to highlight a few of them that are not met for Pacifica. So enrollment is declining, ADA is declining. So those are fiscal indicators for especially an LCFF school district. And then just to kind of point out a couple of the other ones, contingent liabilities. Do you have any known contingent liabilities? We do have 2 pending lawsuits right now. And so that's a fiscal indicator. Post-employment benefits and pensions. Does the district provide post-employment benefits other than pensions? And that would be the lifetime health benefits or the 10 years worth of health and dental benefits. And those are all fiscal indicators. Status of labor agreements. Is it still open? Yes. So that would be a fiscal indicator because we have not yet settled with our labor partners on compensation. And then the other one that's a big one is uncapped health benefits. The district provides 100% employer paid uncapped health benefits under the Kaiser plan. So those are some things to be aware of as you review the budget package. I know it's a lot. I tried to summarize it in this presentation tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have tonight. Does anybody have questions?
I have one quick question. So I did a quick, and these are older budgets that I'm comparing to, so it's not fair, but I was looking at ed data to see how other districts, their services and outlay percentage compares to ours. And ours does seem higher. Now, many districts are also very high, like Foster City. Last year, it looks like it was at 19% of their expenditures, whereas we're at 22. So we're in that higher range. And I know some of the budget collaborative ideas will bring that down by maybe 1% or so. But I guess I'm wondering, how are we thinking about that piece in the long term?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And also maybe look a little bit more at the detail because it's not all contracted services. And when we look inside here, you'll see a large portion of it is utilities. That's something we can address incrementally. I mean, we can't save a huge amount, but we can work on that. The others is our consultants, the auditors are charged in there. Any type of legal fees are in that part of the pie. And then, we always talk about the contracted services, and there's a lot of different types of contracted services. What we can do some things about, for example, we have to contract for custodial services when there's nobody to cover. And so that's an added cost that if we can, raise our custodial subrates, we can somewhat decrease that. I think there's some things we can do to lower that piece of the pie. I think that's what you're talking about. And of course, it is the special education efficiencies that we talked about in the budget collaborative, that is also in there. So it is at 22%, and we would like to get it down as much as possible and push more of that into our salaries in that pie chart. Does that kind of help answer your question?
Does anybody else have any questions? I don't have questions. It's just because I feel like I've been through a few budget.
We've been in all the budget collaborative meetings together.
Thank you, Josie.
Thank you.
All right, so now we are moving on to B. Did you already do reserves and excess?
This is another public hearing. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is for B, public hearing reserves in excess of the state minimum level.
Yes, this is a requirement that when districts are above, it was a Senate Bill 858. If you have reserves above your minimum level of 3%, you do need to have a public hearing and demonstrate why do you have those reserves for the current year and 2 years going out. So you'll see 3 attachments, and it shows how much money we have in reserves. And then what should we have in reserves? So we currently have in the general fund $2.7 million in reserves, and in Fund 17, $848,000 for a total of $3.5 million. The state says we should only have $1.2 million. So that leaves us $2.3 million above what the state says we should have. And so what we need to do is demonstrate why do we have that? And we have this reserve because we need to cover our salary increases and our operating deficits for the next couple of years. And so that is what is reflected in the chart. And it also shows Fund 17 is a board designated reserve per board policy 3100. The board intends to maintain a minimum amount of funds sufficient to maintain fiscal solvency and stability to protect the district against unforeseen circumstances. And so there's 3 pages of balances in excess of minimum reserves for each fiscal year for the public and for the board to see tonight.
I have a question. Why hasn't the state looked at increasing the minimum reserve? Because it's been 3% since I've been on the board.
Yeah, I mean, that is.
We have, you know, inflation, everything's up. So I was just curious if you know why.
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but that's a very good question. You see all the uncertainties, and the state is one of the major uncertainties. So why are they telling us we only need a 3% reserve? And I will look that up and I will get that answer for you.
Thank you. All right, does anybody else have any questions? No? So now we're moving on to 11C, public hearing, local control accountability plan. Will?
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna Stan, I'm gonna share. So from on that. Whoops, shared the wrong screen. Yeah, let me get this up. Sorry. Bear with me here. All right. Here we go. All right, good evening. Today, I bring for public hearing the 2024-2025 local control accountability for Pacifica School District. The full plan is attached to this item for your review. This presentation includes the highlights. I first want to share how this plan was developed with the support of Cheryl Hiblin, who's here right in front of me. There she is. From Illuminate Collective, who is here tonight. We started collecting input and developing a new 3-year plan back in early December 2023. Community engagement meetings were held with all of our educational partners, and a series of surveys were sent out to the community based on the input from the meetings in order to gather more widespread input. Throughout the LCAP development process, we kept what was developed at the beginning half of the year in mind. These were profiles. Their dispositions served as guideposts for the work in developing the plan. See those profiles there. What we learned from the community from the meeting and the surveys was that there were concerns about teaching salaries, that there was a desire to provide pathway experiences in the skilled sectors, that special ed needed to be a priority, and that the financial impact of 6-8 enrollment on K-8 schools needed further discussion. That was some, not all of what we learned, but that was some highlights. From the review of all of the input and most of the data, these 3 goals were constructed. Student access to high quality instruction by highly qualified staff, increase achievement, decrease equity gaps, and increase engagement to support college and career readiness and reduce chronic absenteeism. Goal 1 touches on the conditions of learning, engagement, and student outcomes. These are the actions under Goal 1s. These Goal 1 actions include supporting teachers, promoting instruction through pathways, tracking and reporting student behaviors, implementing a more strategic, designated, and integrated ELD, and monitoring IEP and referral processes. Goal 2 touches on conditional of learning and student outcomes. And these are the actions under Goal 2. Staff development for both ELD and iReady, embedding instructional shifts and social emotional strategies, providing opportunities to make up excused absences, provide staffing support to support instructional shifts, and monitor progress for English learners at Sunset Ridge, and specific student groups in SBAC, ELA, and math. Goal 3 priorities are around engagement. Goal 3 actions include the attendance campaigns at all of the schools, parent education, survey community, provide home language communication, monthly review of chronic absenteeism at identified school, and establish a reconfiguration committee, a school reconfiguration committee. And before we get to any questions that you might have, I do want to note that the LCAP was submitted and initially reviewed by San Mateo County Office of Education review team. And we received feedback from them after the LCAP was already posted for this meeting. Most of the feedback was around making small adjustments so that we would be compliant with CDE requirements. This included what we call out in the plan of how all of our supplemental LCAP funding would be spent. Any edits or additions to the plan based on this review will be reflected on the final LCAP posting before the June 12th LCAP approval board meeting. I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that because they're in the middle of the process. San Mateo County is just going through the first review. They're going to go through a series of more reviews with it. Sometimes we're making changes in August and usually they're minor changes around compliance. So any questions?
I just have a little minor, sorry.
No.
There's on Goal 2 action, it's talking about English learning in progress at Sunset Ridge specifically, and I was wondering why that school was pulled out specifically. There's a program.
Well, Sunset Ridge has our largest English learner population. They also scored on the California dashboard as the they've scored in the orange or red in that area. So there was a requirement that there had to be an action specifically for English learners at that site.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have questions?
Yeah, and then my question was, if I can get back to on Goal 2 actions, it says instructional shifts and social emotional embedded classroom strategies. So I get the SEL part of the classroom strategies. Is that what the instructional shifts refer to, or what instructional shifts are being referred?
So there was Cheryl nodding her head. There was talk around this metacognitive strategies that were used for this instructional shifts. It's basically what are we looking for within the classroom that we can say occurs across all classrooms that have to do with one of those metacognitive strategies.
Well,
So-
that would be one of the social emotional
Yeah.
skills, the metacognitive piece, but the instructional shifts are you looking at your data to see where you have your gaps, and then getting a committee together to look at best practice research and identifying what you want 2 or 3 shifts to be. So for example, if the state is, measuring you on like the STEAM aspect of things, what's the science? It just slipped my mind. The next generation science. So if the state is measuring you on that, an instructional shift might be that you want to see modeling in your classrooms, mathematical modeling, scientific modeling, that type of thing. But a committee, an instructional committee would be brought together to identify 2 or 3, and then the walkthrough tool that the district, the principals, everybody would be consistent to go into the classrooms and look for the same thing to strengthen those instructional shifts across the entire system.
Cheryl, can you just introduce yourself to the people who are out there virtually?
Sure.
The camera's over.
I'm Cheryl Hibland from Illuminate Ed Collective, and I came in with Dr. Williams to support the LCAP and budget work and some other things, so.
Thank you. I just didn't want them to think that somebody was just.
No, somebody just
Talking
started
the audience.
talking.
Are there any other questions? Okay. So let's see, now we are moving on to D, math curriculum review. Will?
Oh, yes. Okay, let me do a shift here. I got to get to the other presentation. And I will get on that one right away. So just give me a second. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Come up. Come on, come on, come up. There it is. Okay, tonight I present an overview of the math curriculum and its impact. Tonight's presentation will address these following questions. What is our adopted math curriculum? What does our data tell us about the impact of our program? What are the teachers' thoughts regarding our math programs? And then what are our next steps? Our adopted curriculum for mathematics K-5 is Bridges in Mathematics, which was first implemented in the 2016-2017 school year. CPM Core Connections, CPM actually stands for College Prep Mathematics, but the company actually moved away from that because then they just shortened it to CPM for the purposes of it not being a college prep course, but an actual. Anyway, it's a little side note there. Is our 6-8 adoption, and which was first implemented in 2014-15 school year. So let's take a look at math data. Some of these slides you've seen before in previous presentations, some of them are new. From the 2023 California dashboard, as previously shared, we as a district were 0.7 points below standard, which was an increase from the 2022 California dashboard of 6.2 points. We also had 3 student groups in either orange or red performance level. This chart shows the comparison between the 21-22 and the 22-23. It highlights or pulls out this idea of an achievement gap, as you can see. This is our district's performance over the years. Remember, our CPM adoption was implemented in 14-15, and our Bridges was adopted in 16, 17. And as you can see across the year, it's pretty flatlined as was previously shared. This highlights, again, the achievement gap in 2023. You see the race and ethnicities are at the bottom there, and you can see the green is the standards met or exceeded, and the orange is the standards not met or exceeded the percentage. Here is the achievement gaps over the years, again, from 2015 to 2023, and you've got the bottom two lines. I know the colors are a little like the bottom two lines are the lines on the bottom are the Hispanic and African American, and then the Asian and white are the ones that are on top. And this is by grade level, our 2023 math results by grade level. As you can see, again, across the board, it's fairly similar except for third grade. And then this is the comparison between our economically disadvantaged and our not economically disadvantaged. You can see that there's a gap there. Now we move on to the iReady math final. This is the final diagnostic in both 21-22 and 22-23. This year, and I don't have it on the chart here, but this year, with 95% of the results in, we're not totally done with our iReady final third assessment, but with 95% of the results in, there are 14% at risk, 30% tier 2, and 56% tier 1. Here is the comparison between the first diagnostic and the second diagnostic of this year. There on the side, there's the different groups, and the light blue one is diagnostic 1. The dark blue bars is 2. When we look at students, this one's it might be a little confusing when you first look at it, but when we look at students who met or exceeded standards on the SBAC in 2023, compared or side by the 2023 third diagnostic scale score. So the third diagnostic iReady scale score is the x-axis, and the y-axis is the bars are the students, percent of students who met or exceeded CASP in 2023. So both of those assessments were given at pretty much at the same time. This is a simple line graph over time from 21-22 to 23-24, and this one shows the percentage of teachers who see the math curriculum being in alignment with standards over the past 3 years. So you can see it's dropping a bit. And then we move on to the teacher survey results. These teacher survey results were just recently, this survey was just recently sent out to both our K-5 teachers and then also our 6-8 math teachers. So our K-5 teachers, this is just who took the survey. Who completed the survey. So we have 44 total, and that's the kind of the distribution between grade levels of those who completed the survey. And then this is for CPM math, the 6 through 8. There's 8 response because you have less math instructors in the 6-8 than you would have in the K-5. So 43 out of 45 teachers indicated that they used Bridges as their main curriculum. 37 said they use it daily, 5 use it several times a week, and 2 use it rarely. All of the 6-8 teachers, all 8 of the 6-8 teachers use CPM. 6 used it daily, and 2 used it several times a week. These are the resources that teachers indicated that they used as supplemental supports, not their main supports, but as supplemental supports. And some, like iReady's with both groups. And so, but these were the list of what was listed as some of the supplements used. And then this slide shows you the effectiveness of teaching math concepts. This is again, the teacher's perception of it. 1 being highly ineffective to 5 being highly effective. You can see the numbers there, the percentages of teachers who responded to and this is for the Bridges math program. And then this one is for the CPM program. And again, this is only complete 8 total. So 6 of the 8 teachers said it was effective. 1 said it was highly effective, and then 1 said it was ineffective. And this is a really interesting chart that came out, was the effective of, do you find Math Bridges supporting levels of students? So you have the language learners, special ed, below grade level, and above grade level. And the blue being the non-effective and the green being extremely effective. You can see a lot of the above grade level fall into the effective or the extremely effective, and the below grade level and the special ed and the language learners, there was more of the somewhat effective. And this is the same for the CPM program, and similar results. Again, you have a smaller sample size because you have 8 total that are filling it out, but you get an idea of where they're at with this. And this one is the overall satisfaction with the math program. In Bridges, as you can see on the table there was most of the ones fell into satisfied or the very satisfied or the neutral. And then for the CPM, again, it was satisfied or very satisfied there. And then these questions were asking, do you feel that the math program adequately prepares students for the next grade level? And you had, in Bridges, yes, 34, 10 no, and CPM 7 yes, and 1 no. And then, do you feel the math program adequately prepares students for standardized tests and assessments? And it was a little more even with Bridges, 17 yeses, 13 no's, and then CPM was 5 and 2. Additional comments that came out, these are just kind of a list of the additional comments that came out, but I did want to highlight that Bridges workplaces are beneficial because they allow me to engage my students while I teach small group lessons. And then there was also the comment about Bridges and numbers corners take a lot of time. And then Bridges does not address the issue of combo classes. That was a comment. Those 3 comments were made multiple times within the additional comments. And then for this was a big one. We need a report card that matches Bridges standards curriculum. Report card needs to be aligned with Bridges. That was one. Teaching 5th grade Bridges. I worry students will not be prepared for the middle school curriculum. And that was this idea, there was comments around this idea of switching from Bridges to CPM when they go into middle school. And we heard a little bit of that last night at the transition meeting. And then Bridges has helped to make students better mathematicians because it builds from abstract ideas to strategies that moves towards concrete algorithms. That was mentioned a lot too. They liked the idea, the basis that Bridges did for them to move into CPM. There was a lot of feelings like they felt like that was an effective part of Bridges. And then for CPM, again, these were literally the 8 comments that came out of there. But I want to point out what the basic skills practice is limited within CPM. There needs for greater emphasis on algorithm skills and mastery and implementation. The highlights of CPM are teamwork, communication, and mathematical work. There was also a comment around math talk. They liked the idea of them having math talk with peers, not teacher to student, but with peers. So there was a comment about that. And then since the district adopted Bridges curriculum, students come into 6th grade with a higher level of conceptual understanding, mathematical understanding, which was nice to see. And then what are our next steps? So with all this information that came in, what are our next steps? So I'm gonna kind of go through each one of these because these are things that have been not only part of the survey, but have been discussed over the years with regards to math and math curriculum. Collaboration across grade levels and schools to promote shared learning, that has been an ask pretty regularly that we allow for time for collaboration for them. Deepening the dive into data, which I think we've done a lot better the last few years, but 3 or 4 years ago, we weren't doing a great job at that, to identify effective teaching strategies and have impact on student learning. That needs to continue to build up. Continue the iReady professional development series, inclusive of an alignment with the math curriculum and interventions. What we had just talked about, provide professional learning on teaching metacognitive strategies. And math talk was one of the ones that was part of that. And then promote the use of intervention materials when needs have been identified. And then develop a math section of the report card that follows the sequence of the curriculum. That was one thing that came up pretty repeatedly, and it has come up before even the surveys were sent out. This idea that the curriculum, the report card should match the sequence of the curriculum, both for CPM and for Bridges Math. Any questions?
Since the report card was a concern, I mean, what does the timeline look at? I mean, as far as getting a new report card to match up.
Yeah, my suggestion would be, and I take responsibility. We had started a report card before the pandemic, and I think I outlined this in an email that went out. And then we hit the pandemic, and it got put on a pause. But really, we really need a professional to come in and to really work on providing a structure for the report card, and then building on that through a committee. Because there was just so much disagreement when we were sitting down. I mean, even when we got to a point where we had a piloted report card that we were ready to use, there was half of them were saying it's too long, or it doesn't have the stuff that was in there, and half of them were saying not. And then different grade levels had different wants and needs within the report card. So I think we need really somebody to come in and do that. Timeline wise, I would say the goal would be to get a committee started at the beginning of next year, like right off the bat. And then bring someone in from San Mateo County Office of Ed or somewhere that could act as the facilitator to support the build of a report card. And I know that there are people, I mean, I haven't looked into it specifically, but there are people that can do that.
So I just want to make sure we underscore a couple of things. And thank you, Mr. Lucy, because what you've done so far is you've laid a foundation and you've positioned us to take the next step. And that goes back to your previous presentation about LCAP and the instructional shift. And so now our goal for next year is to bring together our teachers, also our administrators, and start to have those constructive conversations about a cycle of continuous improvement, where we're looking at the instructional shift. Then we move to looking at our monitoring system, looking at how the data, our iReady assessment results quarterly, how they influence our instruction, and then how do we monitor, and then how do we improve? And then from there, also making sure that we have embedded professional development. So that is the purpose of creating coherence based on the LCAP. Now it's the strategic implementation plan, which is going to be informed by our administrators, our staff, and our teachers, and so that we are all in alignment. So in terms of your point in question, Trustee Villalobos, a timeline for the report cards, it is intended that we pick up, so they're not starting over with the information that Mr. Lucy has led and facilitated over the last several years, and then also reconvene with a definite timeline that by the end of next school year, we would have a template, we would have a draft of what the report card could look like for the following year. And that is at the max in terms of taking us a year to go through that. But our intent is to make sure that we have the input that you've already laid the foundation for, that's going to inform our instructional shifts, that support across the board in all content areas for all grade levels, then that continuous cycle of improvement using data quarterly, that we have those assessments, and then we have the embedded professional development, and we continue to meet and we refine, and that's how we're also intending to address some of those instructional gaps that you've identified. So
well in your presentation.
Is any, oh, there we go. Hi,
I know this report card issue has been around a while. I feel as though the district is capable of working on the report card without bringing any outside person in. Like, I just want to get a clarification that we don't need a consultant to come in to help us with report cards for our district. I just want to make sure that that's not what I'm hearing. Like, we can do this.
Yeah, again, the really big challenge with that would be, and it could be done, but the really big challenge with that would be, we need to make sure that the report card is aligned with the curriculum that's being used. So one of the barriers that we ran into in our former attempts to get a report card done was and it wasn't a major barrier, but we didn't have a K-5 science curriculum. So we didn't have a curriculum that we could base that section of the report card off.
But we have a math curriculum.
Yeah.
So the math part of the report card can be done.
Yeah.
And I feel like our district staff and teachers are capable of working together and getting that done. That's what I'm just trying to make sure that we can do this.
the only, I think I heard what you're saying, the only concern is Will said that, half the people couldn't agree on it.
Yeah, but I feel like that's an internal thing that we have to work through. But I just want to make sure we're not saying we're going to get somebody outside the district to come in and help us do our report cards. I feel like we have capable people within our district can do the report cards. Like, that's not something I'm going to approve. I'm just going to say that. Like,
well, is there any way to get like a quote from the county, San Mateo County?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when the county used to do this for free. You would just call on them and, for not just for report cards, but for anything, they would come in. Right. Now they set up a MOU and it's a minimal cost. They don't try to gouge the district. So, I mean, but to your point, it can be done together, but it would have to be, again, the way we'd have to approach it is very, very strategic. And we'd have to really identify, based on what the LCAP says, we really need to identify what are the priorities of the report card. The last time we went through this, it was high leverage standards. We were trying to find high leverage standards we were trying to make a standard-based report card, high leverage standards, but we couldn't agree on what were high leverage standards and what were not. And then in the lower grades, there was the skills versus the content standards. So what are we going to represent on the report cards? Because if you represented them both, it'd be a 4 to 10 page report card. But if you focus on certain high leverage skills and certain content areas, then it would be there. So those are some of the challenges.
Okay.
I had a couple questions coming with that, kind of talking about bridges. It mentions in there's 2 teachers not teaching bridges, and I'm just curious if that's specific for it's 2, so I don't want to get 2, but I mean, is there a reason, I guess, for that?
Yeah, one of them is they're doing Singapore math, and it is our independent study program.
Okay.
Or the homeschool study program. So that's one. And the other one, I made it anonymous because I want people to be honest. So I couldn't figure out which one was the other one. But the one was definitely because they did know Singapore math. And I made that's probably because I know that they subscribe to the Singapore math program.
Okay.
The homeschool program.
My other question is onboarding new teachers. I haven't been in college for a while, when I was, it was a single subject. So I didn't go through the math program. So I don't know if that's standard. They're learning bridges in college and then they're bringing it here. If not, what is our onboarding process so that everyone's up to speed? Because I do remember back in 2016, it being a challenge and a lot of time from a lot of teachers.
Yeah.
So I was just curious on that.
So the past 3 years, or actually even before the pandemic, the process was Allison Fox. Allison Fox works for Math Learning and which is Bridges. And then now she works as an independent person. She came in and did, we pulled all of the new teachers and they did a 1 or 2 day training based off where they're at and familiarity with that. And then CPM has a online video program, like a get started program for that, but they also have an in-person one that if a teacher, if we have a new math teacher, which we haven't had in the last couple of years, but we're going to have next year, we have one that's going to be new, then they'll be sent to that. They'll get that support.
And then is there like an ongoing refresher courses on Bridges? Because I noticed when everyone was first getting it, the numbers were a little higher and then waning a little bit, but I'm just wondering, we keep it fresh in everyone's mind. Is there a system to kind of?
Yeah, there was Allison Fox again was one that did a refresher course also last year. She did one at the beginning of the year, but it is something that we got to get the feel for it if there's a need for it. It hasn't been the new teachers. There's a consistent thing every single year that they get it, but for the refresher courses. The reason we did it last year, beginning last year, was because there was a lot of ask for it. So we had a refresher course and we had a good showing. We had like 25 teachers involved in it. And she does that. She's very good at supporting that. But I mean, it doesn't mean that's perfect. I mean, it would be great to have an ongoing person. When we used to have specialists, we used to have ongoing supports, continuous on curriculum, and or we don't have specialists.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much.
So just a couple of quick questions. I'm sorry, I forgot a lot of them now, but the first thing I wanted to mention is, I know when we see improvements in the percentage of students that have met or exceeded standards, it looks positive, but those standards are meant for all students to achieve. It's not okay that half our students are achieving it and half aren't, or it's not even okay if 70% of our students are achieving it and 30% aren't, because that is a baseline, and I just want the community to know that our goal is 100%. Our goal is not 53%, 54%. Our goal should be 100%, which also addresses the achievement gap and what have you. And so then when you dive then deeper into the data that you presented, there's the 63% in 3rd grade, then the drop in 4th grade. And so I'd love to have a deep dive on what's happening there. That's been the case for a while. And it's Bridges, is it a different kind of process? What's happening there? And then with respect to Bridges, I'd love to know how many teachers, what percentage of our teachers responded. I'm not familiar with the exact number of teachers by grade level to the survey. So I saw 44, but is that half? Is that 90% of all teachers? I'm not sure. And the startling statistic was almost half of the teachers that responded for Bridges don't think that it helps students with standardized tests, which are based off of the standards that we need to meet. And so I don't know if that's, I don't feel confident with the curriculum. I don't think the curriculum needs to, I don't know what the gap is there, but I do think those 3 stats in my mind are things that we need to have at least a perspective and an answer for in the district that then guides our action. We think that's because of this, this, and this, and therefore we're going to remediate this, this, and this. And I guess I'm not entirely clear what the district thinks the reason is.
Well, I can say, first thing I can tell you is that the CAFS scores, except for the final scores, are not consistent with the iReady scores, except for the final diagnostic. So when the student enters in there and they take the first diagnostic and the second diagnostic, they're a little bit different. And that's not just me saying that. That's when we do the professional development, that's coming out of the professional development. The second thing is The percentages that we're showing over time is very concerning. I completely agree with you. Like 50% shouldn't be our deal, should be 100%. At the same time, we also have to look at student progress. So when we look at groups, so a third grader, where they scored one year versus where they scored the next year. So they may not be at standard, but they may have made a bigger jump. So that's another kind of caveat that we need to look at, because that'll inform us not only about interventions and supports, but also inform us about instructional practices, right? So
that sounds like a cohort analysis, like following third graders through multiple grades.
And that quite honestly we haven't done a cohort analysis, and that may be something that should be done. And it should be done not just from at the district level, but should be done during these iReady data dives, pieces should be done through, like at the sites for that purpose.
I think that's fair. And that fourth grade drop has been there for a while. This is not new. I wasn't surprised to see it because I've seen it at least in a past couple of presentations that you've made, which means that something's happening at the fourth grade. Even if we do a cohort analysis, we'll see a similar.
And I just read an article about a couple of months ago. It's happening all over the state of California, the third through fourth. It's almost like they need to recalibrate that test I don't know, because third to fourth is a drop across. I mean, I used to not be happy when the Chronicle would put the scores of the fourth grade and the seventh grade, because the fourth grades were just dropped from the third grade. Anyway, I don't know. I don't want that to be an excuse, but that seems to be across the state, an issue.
Does anybody else have questions?
And also, do you know what percentage of teachers answered?
Oh, so, Carla, maybe you can help me on this one. I was trying to look at that total number of K-5 teachers, 44. I would say that's there's about 80 maybe it's a little over half classroom teachers.
Yeah, there's about 144 certificated unit numbers.
For K-8.
Oh, like for the whole district.
Oh, for the K-5 classroom teachers, because most of them were K-5 classroom teachers. I didn't have when the survey was sent out, it wasn't sent to RTI teachers. It wasn't sent to, it was just sent to classroom teachers.
K-5 classroom.
Yeah, and I can tell you for CPMs, it was. What?
Cabrillo has 17.
Yeah, I have it back in my office. I have the numbers back. I can get back to you in a week, the weekly update at the end of this week. I can get back to you and let you know what's in that.
And Will, I just have one thoughtful question for you since you're leaving since I've been here, the special education, the low income and our English learners have always been at the very bottom. And I'm just wondering if you know why, or is there some kind of indicator on why we can't get their scores up?
Yeah. I can tell you the last minus last year, but the 2 years before that, or even before COVID, we did a huge redesignation, way more than when I first started. They used to redesignate maybe 10, 11. Last year, we redesignated 33. 1 year, we redesignated 78. Those get off the book. So there's like this turnover. I'm not trying to say that the ones that are not English learners, that they shouldn't be performing, but there were certain years from year to year, you're dealing with two different populations, basically. And that's for English learners. Special ed, I don't really, 65, there's 65 total K-5, 65 total K-5 classroom teachers. So 44 of 65, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, thank you. For special ed, I don't have an answer for you. I just don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry. Socioeconomically disadvantaged. There's been some years that we get we get a lot of the applications in for free and reduced, and that's when it was based off that. And then other years so our numbers had fluctuated for a while. We had large numbers of socioeconomically and then smaller numbers socioeconomically. So the population again might be different there. I do know that the ones that have gone through that have been identified for interventions are not necessarily just the socioeconomically disadvantaged youth. It's been a variety across the board. But I guess that's a non-answer, but
It was your thoughts. Thank you. Okay, so are we ready to move on? No more questions? Thank you, Will.
Sure.
Okay, we're moving on to school climate update.
Sure.
Stan, I think I'm going to share as well. Oh, you already have it up?
Yeah, sure.
You can go ahead and keep it up. That's fine. Thank you. Are you going to put it up, Stan, or?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Williams. I am pleased to be presenting to you a school climate update this evening. We start all of our presentations with the connection of the content of the presentation to our district's guideposts. And school climate is one of those ones that hits every district guidepost. Attendance, academics, community engagement, and embracing inclusivity and diversity. I love the definition of school climate from National Center for Safe and Supportive Learning Environments. And just to get us grounded, like last presentation, I'll just read it. A positive school climate is the product of a school's attention to fostering safety, promoting a supportive academic, disciplinary, and physical environment, and encouraging and maintaining respectful, trusting, and caring relationships throughout the school community. That's from the National Center for Safe and Supporting Learning Environments. Okay, we're gonna keep going. So we're gonna touch on discipline data, and suspension data is a clear metric that we can look at. This is a pretty simple graph here. I do need to unfortunately update the far right, which is this year's suspension numbers. From when I finished the report till now, there's actually been an increase of 6 students over on the right-hand side. That doesn't mean that 6 students have been suspended over the past week. It means that the suspension information wasn't entered into the student information system at the time where I originally did the report. So if we add 6 students to the right-hand side, we have a total of 36 suspensions this school year. That counts in school and out of school suspensions. And this is concerning because it is an increase in suspension. So last year, 22-23, we had a total of 24 suspensions. So we are rising in our suspension numbers. It's not fun to talk about, but I ran the most behavioral incidents and suspensions were for these 2 infractions: caused, attempted, threatened physical injury, and school disruption or defiance. So that was the majority of our suspensions were in these two areas. So with discipline, and you've seen the rise in the suspension data. However, we are definitely always looking for alternatives to suspension. This is in the law where we have to provide other means of correction for a student that has behavioral difficulties. And we can only look at a suspension once those interventions have kind of been maxed out or they're not successful for the student. So by no means can you suspend right away for the first time a student has done something. We really are not wanting to suspend. We don't want students to be out of school. So with other means of correction, we have conferencing. So conferencing with the student, sometimes with the teacher, with the parent, SST meetings where we have a multidisciplinary team together to look at what we can do to help the student in the behavior. We have restorative justice or restorative practices, which we'll talk about a little bit more, anger management, and counseling. So these are the alternatives that can be put in place for a student who's having difficulties instead of suspension. It's employment of the restorative approach to discipline rather than punitive. And you know this because we've said it many times, but the point of restorative practice is that we have a meaningful response to behavior to create empathy, understanding, and lessen the likelihood of it happening again. Through this, we have resiliency being instilled within students. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about therapeutic learning spaces moving
I have
forward.
a quick question.
Sure.
Was there a new law that went into effect last year for defiance and not suspending, I think, sixth graders or eighth
Yes.
graders? So why are we still doing that?
Well, it's actually for a specific infraction where that can't be. Let me I want to get that information to you because I want to make sure that I have the accurate information about the law, and then I can dovetail it with our information.
And then the other thing is, just because I don't want to lose my thought, is, we just heard from the community about a big push for mental health. And my concern is that when a student is acting out in such a way of being physical or yelling or anything like that, something's going on with them. And so I guess I'd like to know more information on how many of those suspensions, 36 you said, how many of them actually have SSTs? How many of them received counseling and are continuing to receive counseling? And what was the other one? I think that's a good start. And I'm still unclear about the restorative justice practices and who is doing them.
Yeah.
And if they're effective, because if we're going up in our suspension, something is not working.
Okay,
And-
we'll talk. I've got some slides. I've got some information for you that I think will be helpful. And then if there's still questions, I'm happy to address those.
Okay.
You already advanced the slides, Dan. Thank you. No, go ahead. So more about alternatives to suspension. So it's other means of correction, restorative justice, social emotional learning, and then positive behavior intervention systems. Trustee Villalobos, the positive behavior intervention system, that's an example of something that we would put in place for a student. So it's a positive behavior plan for the student. So it's got positive language to it. It's got things that the student earns rather than withheld. So that's an example of a pretty robust alternative that we would put in place. We want to lessen the likelihood of the behavior happening again. Go ahead, Stan. That's the slide. So restorative practices, it promotes resilience and collaboration. All of this promotes a positive school climate and an equitable learning environment. And again, here's some more alternatives: family conferences, counseling, community service, and continuing education. You hit on something I think that's really important though, and restorative practices don't always work. They don't always work the first time. You have to be consistent with it. You have to have belief in this, and a mindset that this is what we do at our schools. That said, sometimes it doesn't address the issue, and we do have to look at other alternatives. So I think going into the data of the suspensions, like you suggested, would be really helpful as our next steps, as some of our next steps. I'm going to segue now to another topic of bullying, which is a part of the school climate presentation. We talked about bullying at prior board meetings, and I know that we're having this be a concern in the district. I put the definition for bullying from our administrative regulation there at the top of the page. So an aggressive behavior that involves a real or perceived imbalance of power between individuals with the intent to cause emotional or physical harm. So that's the definition. And because of some of the concerns reported by parents, by school staff, by students, Tyler, perfect timing. We wanted to look a little deeper at bullying. And what I did was I did kind of an informal survey of the principals, and I asked for some specific information and their thoughts about bullying at their schools and what they do in response to it, to address it. And it's interesting because some schools report an increase, some schools report a decrease in bullying. Almost all of our schools, and this is all from principals, from principal feedback, report an increase in disrespectful behavior, not necessarily bullying. That was a clear answer from several school sites was, yes, we're having an increase in disrespectful behavior. Not necessarily, I don't think I'd classify it as bullying, but we have these unkind behaviors, this disrespectful behaviors among students towards staff as well. We are seeing an increase in cyberbullying, unfortunately. This is, not so new of a frontier anymore, but it is a kind of wild, wild west out there as far as social media, photoshopping. We've seen a number of recent transgressions where there's been Photoshop, unfortunately. So cyberbullying is this kind of new frontier that we need to be aware of. While certain behaviors and situations might not meet the definition, we are going to continue to address them. So while it's not necessarily bullying per the definition, we continue to address them. And positive school climate helps that. Stan? So our long and short-term strategies to address the bullying and the disrespectful behavior, and this comes from the principals. This is what is in place. We have restorative practices, conflict management. I won't read through the whole thing, but you can see the strategies, also the cool events that are in place. So there's strategies that are response strategies. And then there's big picture kind of ongoing tier one positive events, positive school climate, positive expectations at the school. And you can see those events there that are about social emotional learning and positive school climate. So I know there's a lot of interest in this system that we are going to be adopting called Stop It. And this is a reporting system that we are going to be bringing on here in Pacifica School District. We have had actually with our superintendent student advisory committee at some of their meetings, they were talking about the fact that it's hard to report. It's hard to report. You're called out sometimes for doing so. It's hard to be anonymous. This is a system that is free of cost for the district. It's from the county. Basically, you can advance the slides. We're going to kind of go through these quickly. It's basically an app in an electronic reporting system that students can do from their phones. I think you can do it from a desktop. And there's posters that go up about this that promotes this at school sites. There's visuals that are branded. Keep going, Stan. Keep going. Here's sort of like a picture of what it looks like on the smartphone when you go ahead and you make your anonymous report. You can see this, it's interesting. It has sort of like the text responses, almost like when you're in a like a chat, you know, there's responses. We have a dashboard that keeps track of the incidents, pending incidents, and follow-up incidents. And the cool thing about Stop It is that it alerts it alerts school personnel, district personnel, county personnel, supports in the county from the Safe and Supportive Schools unit, and also Pacifica PD. They are in the loop when it's that incident that they need to be aware of. So right now we're in the process of kind of getting all of that together, and we're going to be launching at IBL. We're trying to launch there before the end of the school year, and then next year to have it at all schools. Okay, we have a lot of work. We're gonna move quick here. School-based mental health. We have a multi-tiered system, and I won't read the slide, but you can see I list our folk that deliver services. You've seen the triangles and tiered supports many times. It's just a nice visual. The tiers of supports, more intensive as you move up. Our tier 1 interventions, we've seen that many times, and these are the school class-wide interventions. Prevention. The prevention piece is big, so having it be very, very clear what the expectations of the school are, and buy-in from the students on that. And our SEL curriculum, so our caring school communities is at all of our school sites. Go ahead, Stan. Tier 2, that is some counseling services. We have short-term interventions. We have longer-term interventions, counseling support, behavior support plans. Tier 3, more intensive supports when they don't respond to Tier 1, Tier 2, sometimes IEP, special education assessment. As part of mental health, you know that we have our suicide risk and threat assessment process. We have training that happens here for the personnel that do this. This is a multidisciplinary team that looks at the level of risk for students who might have suicidal ideation or for potential threats. So it's a process that the county supports us on there. This school year, we have done 31 suicide risk assessment and 17 level 1 threat assessments. So,
can I just ask, how many of the 31 suicide risk assessments are K-5 and then 6-8?
I'll have to get that to you, Trustee Villalobos. Okay. Moving forward, and we did talk about the text looks weird on that. I don't know why it's like that, but we talked about this at our budget collaborative. Is our therapeutic learning spaces and our school-based wellness centers that we're looking at for next school year, and essentially this is going to be an area in the school where students can go to drop in for service. There's resources there. There are people there. There's academic supports. It's a wellness center. It's a counseling center. We don't have them built yet, so this is going to be kind of a project at the beginning of the school year and over the summer to get these established. But this is what we're looking at, is kind of a multifaceted wellness center at each school site with various resources, various counseling that's available, more group counseling. So actually able to serve more students in our school-based wellness centers. We were finding that we were counseling too many students. And, school counselors were feeling like they had way too many on their caseload. Some of the things that they were counseling on were very intense, kind of above and beyond what they would typically do. So we really want to define, our students that really are great candidates for school counseling, help the families that need more support and students that need more support with the Care Solace referrals, et cetera. Serve more students, essentially. Keep going, Stan. So this talks about a little bit more of our services. These are little kind of sketches of what the center might look like. Go ahead. Our school counselor allocations, based on the reduction in school counselors that we have, are here. So we have 4 school counselors. There's an extra 0.5 FTE here, and that would be Raquel Buchanan serving at Sunset Ridge for that 0.5 that's there. Okay, we're going to segue one more time. This is about our school climate survey data. So just as a reminder, it's very important to kind of look at multiple data points, and school climate panorama data is a good data point. The areas measured: school climate and culture, positive relationships, and school safety. And this is the winter of 2023. Go through all of these, Stan. Just go all the way to keep going, all the way to where there's bullet points. Yeah. I do have slides in there that shows each category and kind of the pertinent rises and falls that we had from the one survey administration to the next. But these are ones that I think are important that we can point out. So on each of these, that's the main category of the survey area. And then there's examples of the questions. So you can see what examples of the questions there. So self-efficacy for students at 3.5 and 6.8 has declined. So confidence about completing work in their class, learning all topics taught in class, and sure that they can do the hardest work. So those are examples of self-efficacy. On the other hand, emotional regulation for students has increased. How often are you able to pull yourself out of a bad mood? When things go wrong for you, how calm are you able to stay? That's very promising to see that has raised. And when I put these here, that means it's a pertinent rise or decline. School climate has increased. How often do your teachers seem excited to be teaching your classes? And this is, I like this because this is actually shifted in a positive direction from the last survey, which was how much does the behavior of other students help or hurt your learning? That has actually increased. At the prior school climate, we were talking about that being very low. And then family engagement is increasing. So visiting child's school and get involved with groups at your schools. School safety for families is increasing. How often do you worry about violence at your child's school? How unsafe does your child feel at school? So these numbers are more favorable. We won't read through the whole thing, but you can see the other kind of categories and other examples of the questions. Josie alluded to this in her presentation, but our attendance isn't as strong as we were hoping it would be. We were striving for 95. We were trying to get to 95%. We were up at 95 at one brief point, I think, or we were getting close. But you can see right now we're at 93.93%. So just under 94% attendance. We are just continuing to look at this. It's each school looking at their data and developing their strategies to address this. We have the tier 2 attendance piece, which is more of a district team where I'm usually there, and we have the families come to the district office and the school personnel, and we meet here when it's we've already had that tier 1. We're going to have a tier 2 attendance meeting, but we obviously need to double down on our strategies and look at what we can do to improve attendance. this is just information about chronically absent and some of our strategies there. So sorry, that was a lot of information on school climate, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I was just wondering if stop it, if that can be altered in any way, or is it just a strict, this is our app and this is how you have to use it? Or can you?
You can customize certain parts of it. What is there a part that you were thinking?
No, I was just thinking, I was kind of just thinking about the police.
Okay.
Because, even, I know that Chief Sarasua is very aware, of talking to kids at school rather than going to their house. So I would just want to make sure that is solid in there, that
yeah,
if there's an option for them to go visit them at home, to do that, because we're talking about the student's privacy, and every time a police officer shows up, somebody knows that he's there to talk to that person because he or she needs to be pulled out of class. And so that was one of my things, is can we manipulate that and have, the superintendent or the principals or whoever review it to see if that is something
that is how
necessary.
It works. That is exactly how it works. And I haven't, since we haven't turned it on, I haven't gotten to play with it and sort of experiment with it. But I do remember Greg Fry from the county saying not every single thing just automatically goes, to the police. We do discern what goes to them, and exactly how that looks until we launch it. I'm not sure, but I do know that it was an option if we wanted to have that notification, but I think it's something that we can activate.
Yeah,
That's
it's just that, Pacifica has a small force and it's always turning over with new officers. And, there are some that are trained and then there's some that aren't. And so, right now I know the Pacifica Police will take a name if anybody's having mental illness or mental health issues. And so I'm going back again to that part. If somebody's bullying, there's probably something wrong going on in their life. And so do we want the counselors or doctors to help them, or the police?
Right. And I know there's discernment for what goes to the police, but I can easily find this information for you.
Thank you.
I'll get that to you.
Does anybody have any questions? All right. Okay, so we're moving on to special education update.
Great. This one will be shorter, I promise. This is the special education update. Oh, you don't have that one? I can do that. Okay. In the special education update, we're going to look at data of our special education eligible students, trends and implications of the data. We're going to talk about our special education local plan area plan that for Pacifica School District that was done for us that we've been working on this school year, and then moving forward. That's right, I'm doing it now, not you. I showed this slide last time and I really like it. And it's just nice to kind of refer to as far as the continuum of services from less restrictive to most restrictive. So I like to have that marker in there, and you can refer back to it if you needed to. I'm going to have to get used to the fact that I'm doing it, not you. No, I got it. So our eligible students right now are 531 students, but this includes 79 pending cases. So that's 79 of that 531 are pending. So that means assessments that are in process where we haven't finished them yet. In about a year ago, we were at 452 students. And then you can see those other markers. We have 93 students in special day classes right now, and we have 11 special day classes in the district. So those specialized programs, self-contained classes. Right now we have 14 students in non-public school placements. In comparison, we had 10 students at this time last year in non-public school placements. I'm sorry, that should say 20. Yeah, 20. So trends and implications of the data. The increase of students being referred for special education is just continuing to rise in the district. An increase of 81 eligible students while our enrollment had pretty much remained the same or pretty similar. So it's obvious that that's a big increase. We have a continued increase. This is a multi-year increase in students needing non-public school placements. So from last year, we went from 10 to 14. Our special day class enrollment is increasing. So students that are needing a more intensive setting in our schools, we have them at our different school sites, so we're able to place them there. But those numbers are increasing, particularly at Ingrid B. Lacey, the special day class there, the cross-categorical one, really has increased in numbers. And increases in students with the most extensive needs. So the students who need non-public school placement, residential placement, the numbers have increased for students with those needs. So as happened last school year, we did have to add some staff during the school year to keep up with the pace of the assessments and the services. So we added 0.5 school psychologists during the school year and 4 FTE of paraeducators and behaviorists. Those include assessments that were done for students who need individual support and also personnel that were added to classrooms. So we had an excellent collaboration with Special Education Local Plan Area this school year, the SELPA. And Dr. Williams had them come in and do a little mini kind of file review, audit of some things, looking at some things. And basically we have an action plan that the SELPA developed for us. It's based on what I just talked about, program configurations, parent input as well, and file samples. And the main areas that are addressed in the plan: documentation, training, policies and practices, and then making sure teachers have the right credentials to be in the classes and providing the services. Progress on the plan. So I'd like to kind of give you some information about this. We formed a special education advisory committee. We've had 6 meetings, I believe. A couple of those were kind of getting formed and having presentations about topics to the committee. So, the last couple have been more, talking and getting really specific things done. For the documentation, we're working on reorganizing the district's files according to how the SELPA suggested it. We are looking at how we do our functional behavioral assessments and our assessments for paraeducator support. It's known as SCIA, Special Circumstance Instructional Assistance. So it's a service. And we have already adopted the FBA, the functional behavioral assessment, and the SCIA assessment process. The district files, that's going to be a summer project, getting those reorganized. Training, this is the huge one for us in special education. Training. We need training in a lot of areas and ongoing training. And then as new staff comes aboard, getting them up to speed and having it be coherent. Safety de-escalation training. This is a really, really robust, usually a 2-day training where you're trained on a specific methodology of de-escalation and then safety intervention for students. This school year, we had Stacy Jiang and Nicole Sayers go to be trained to be a trainer in the PROACT system. So they have conducted trainings of our staff in these areas. Para-educator and behaviorist training, we want to really discern between the two. So the lines were kind of gray between behaviorist and para-educator. We really want to develop a specific training for behaviorists and then have a system where weekly they are meeting with the BCBA and they're reviewing data and having that be very distinct from the paraeducator. Case management. We need our teachers and our service providers who are case managers to understand everything about the responsibilities of being a case manager. It's not just teaching the student. There's coordination of the IEP. There's communication with the parent. There's progress reports on goals. There's communication with gen ed staff about your student that's in their classes. So lots and lots about case management. Onboarding of new staff is extremely important. And we have developed, really Betsy Belkin, our coordinator, has developed a special education boot camp that we're very, very excited about. That's going to happen at the beginning of next school year, before school starts, for 2 days. We're going to address overview of special education here in the district, compliance, case management, local policies and procedures. So this is not just new staff at the boot camp, but also, newer teachers. We have a number of teachers that are a couple that are getting started in special education. So it'll be really great to have them in the special education boot camp. Cross-training between general education and special education. In the committee, we talked about documents that would be a streamlined document for the gen ed teacher to have about the students. And we had gen ed teachers, we had special ed teachers, and we have a couple of examples of a template that we want to just finalize before the end of the school year. It's visually, easier, and it's something that I think we all landed on. So we're going to do that. We're going to have our principals try to develop common planning time for general education and special education teachers. We're really seeing that that's a need, is to get them together at least for a portion of time on a regular basis so they can meet and collaborate. We're going to continue to train principals on the IEP process and what the LEA designee is at a meeting and what the LEA is at a meeting. So what role do principals have at IEP meetings, and making sure they are up to speed with all the latest. And then teacher and staff credentialing. So we have a close collaboration with human resources and special education. We meet on a weekly basis. That has started this school year to kind of those regular meetings. And we're just basically running through all of our staff, making sure we have staff in place, having any credential things addressed. So I think that close collaboration has been excellent. Structured onboarding, we talked about, and then recruitment. We went to the job fair. We've been trying to recruit special educators in various ways. And then policies and practices. So we have the CDE monitoring of special education, where they look at our program under certain criteria, and they if they find data that is out of compliance, they give us corrective actions, and we work through those corrective actions. So we'll combine the CDE monitoring with file review and make sure that we're identifying like the high leverage training areas. Won't read through all of them, but that first one, educational benefit analysis, is a great one because that must mean I need to wrap. Is a great one. Because educational benefit is it's just this one piece. It's looking at the arc of a student from their goals to their services and their progress. And is there a connection? Is there a clear connection between the areas of need, the goals, the services, and then the progress? And looking at that over time, like a 3-year span, and doing an ed benefit analysis of the student's IEP. That's a great practice to kind of get educators thinking about the way that they build IEPs and kind of have goals and services for students. And then we just have, we listed some of the curriculum that our resource teachers and our special day class teachers are using. And then some pieces about the instruction. So with RSP, students are grouped according to need. We have learning center rooms. We have push-in support that happens. Learning center is the RSP room. We have push-in support that happens. Special day classes, they're self-contained. Students are grouped according to goals and needs. And again, push-in support and social skills, executive functioning as well. Okay, moving forward, we have the WAVES program at IBL. That's our therapeutically enhanced special day class. We are having more students in the class, and it's going great. The WAVES class is going really well. They are so students have a very small student-teacher ratio in the class. They have mental health support that's dedicated to the classroom. And then they are able to do kind of special projects and have like, for instance, this year they developed a school store, but this was an ongoing project that took months because they thought about, what do they want to sell? What kind of budget do they have? How is this going to work? So, big projects. Because of the sharp increases that you see in our students needing, with the most extensive needs, it would be something to consider of looking at the numbers of the students to see if we could build a program of our own. You have to look and see if that makes fiscal sense. It's always like, do we have enough students to build the program? Because you build the staff. So that would be like a cost analysis of looking at the number of NPS, non-public school, what are the needs, and do we have the wherewithal to kind of build our own program? This would obviously be looking more down the road, not for next year. We're standardizing our staffing levels for our special day classes. So we did a study of like districts about their staffing and their ratios and their specialized programs, and that really informed us. And we were very similar to most of our partner districts. So we want to have it be very standardized. So we're going to release that, what our standardized ratios are. And the collaboration with gen ed teachers and the compliance monitoring is important. So it's being just being aware of the errors in our database, looking at the CDE information, and just being proactive with that. And then our CPAC, our Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, incredible collaboration with CPAC that is going to continue. Happy to address any questions.
But I have a couple of quick questions, John. So first, if you include the pending, that number of students who have or I guess are in evaluation for an IEP is quite high. 19% of the district, if I calculated it correctly. Yes. And that's higher than other districts.
Yes, it is.
And so I'm very curious about understanding that a little bit, like understanding what the disability categories are. Are we seeing certain trends? Is it, I don't know what the California categories are, but are there certain trends that we're seeing are there certain grade levels that we're seeing higher identification versus other identification? And so I'd love to just have a lot more detail as a follow-up to understand where we're seeing that increase, because that's it's an important thing for us to understand as a district to how to support that. And then when we think about progress, so you had a number of slides on progress of special education. A lot of those were inputs, like here's what we're doing,
Right.
but not necessarily progress, right? So I'm very curious, like to me, every special education presentation should include the achievement gap and the general academic performance of our students with IEPs. That to me is how we would assess progress.
Okay.
And then if there is a way to summarize progress against the IEP goals at a summary level to say, you know, we're expecting 90% of our students to reach their goals. Where are we on that? Are we reaching it? Because I see a lot of great inputs, John. Like I love the fact that general ed and special ed are now collaboratively planning together. Very few districts do that, and it's fantastic. But I want to make sure that we're also tracking progress for these students, that it's not just we're going to do more and more and more and more and more. We're seeing what is the most effective to driving results, because what I don't want to do a couple of years from now is we're seeing no results, and so we add on 7 more things without reevaluating the 55 things that we're already doing.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to make sure any discussion of progress has that data, because these students deserve to see, you know, we deserve to make sure they're making progress against their goals and closing their achievements.
John, I was wondering if there's anything that the county is doing differently as far as assisting the school districts, or are they just leaving it on?
They are. We had actually San Mateo County come to one of our cabinet meetings, and we can get assistance from the Ed Services Division on the student study team process. So I think the student study team process is right now, it's inconsistent across schools. It's inconsistent in the way it's held, and the structure and the forms even, I think, are different. And kind of, there needs to be a mindset that we put interventions in place and we track interventions and we track progress on interventions before we make an assessment for special education. So I think like work on the IEP process would be something that the county would help us on. Special education, they're very, you know, we go to the SELPA meetings, they're very supportive. They help us with the CDE data. They help us with, obviously, they helped us on the plan. But I think like, and that's more on the gen ed side, the student study teams work. But I think that along with tier 2 interventions, having more tier 2 interventions put in place for students and tier 1 can help lessen the referrals, because students are going to get help and they're going to do better, and they're not going to, you know, need to get referred.
Yes.
That's the
It seems
idea.
like that seems logical to do a study team, you know, instead of a referral to IEP, because of the SST, right?
Yes.
If that doesn't work, then, you know, you move on to the next step. And I've been through a couple SST meetings myself, and they work.
Yes.
They work.
Yeah.
One of them was actually, how do we get him to school?
Yeah.
And we
You
had
can
to
talk
come up
about
with a
any
plan.
concerns at an SST.
Does anybody have any questions?
But Trustee Patel, I will work on getting a breakdown disability wise and grade level wise.
And especially for the evaluation, that would be very curious to see if there are trends in those numbers.
That's what I was,
Yeah.
the evaluations and then the eligibility.
And then I know, like, and other, I know that people don't generally show progress on it. I know that. I don't know why. Like, I guess I've never seen it in a district presentation of like, here's what % of our students with IEPs are making progress against their goals. And it's not specific. It's just saying everybody has goals. What % of them are, you know? So I'm curious as to why. Why we're doing this.
But it, you know, that too is, you know, logical, because if a student's not making progress, then the parent can actually take steps to the next level.
Well, what the point of having goals that aren't being met is that that's part of the case management piece, because you need to look at why the goals aren't being met during the school year. You need to have an IEP meeting and either shift the goal or address the services, because the goals drive the service. Goals drive the service. So when a student is not making progress, or they max their goal out and they're done with their goal really quickly, you need to get with an IEP team and look at areas of need that are driving the goals, making sure that they're accurate.
Any more questions? Nope. So we're on 11. CSEA initial proposal for the 24-25 school year, successor negotiations. Carla.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Dr. Williams. Tonight, I'm happy to share the CSEA and its Chapter 128 initial proposal for the 2024-2025 school year negotiations. The public notice provisions of the Educational Employment Relations Act requires California School Employee Association and Chapter 128 to give public notice of their initial proposal. Initial proposals are made available for public viewing at a stated time and place prior to collective bargaining. This allows the general public an opportunity to review and comment on initial proposals. CSEA and its chapter number 128 desires to alter or amend the current collective bargaining agreement, which expires on June 30th, 2025 as follows. Article 10, compensation. CSEA has an interest in a fair and equitable salary increase for all bargaining unit members, improving proration rate for employees who work less than 8 hours per day, and improving longevity pay. Article 8, hours of employment. CSEA has an interest in establishing sick leave accrual, vacation earnings, and paid holiday entitlements for 11-month employees who work summer programs. Article 18, layoff and reemployment. CSEA has an interest in changing the rules regulating bumping rights. And this was just information.
Thank you, Carla.
Any questions?
Now we are on to H, Will, first reading board policies and administrative regulations instruction, December 2023.
Hi again. So there's two policies that are part of this. This is the 6000 series instructional, and it's the December. We're almost caught up. We're almost there. There's two policies here. One's around comprehensive health education, and the other one's on transitional kindergarten. The comprehensive health education, the policy is updated to reflect the new U.S. Surgeon General's guidance. Specifically for our district, is if it mandates that if the district offers health education courses to middle school students, the course must include mental health instruction. And then the regulation outlines that the district that offers health education courses again must include mental health instruction. And to clarify that the opt-out right to excuse a student only applies to the comprehensive sexual education, HIV prevention education, and related assessments, and does not apply to instruction, materials, presentation, and programming that discusses specific topics, including gender, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, discrimination, harassment, bullying, intimidation, relationship, or family, and do not discuss human reproductive organs and their functions. So that's board policy 6142.8 of comprehensive health education. Those were changed. And then the transitional kindergarten, this policy really applies to if you're doing an early admittance, meaning if you're you're allowing a student who is 4 years old, I think, whose 5th birthday is after the date specified for admittance in the applicable year, can provide that upon recommendation of the superintendent or designee, the governing board determines that the enrollment in a TK program is in the child's best interest and the child's parent guardians approve. So that's one point. So it allows for a child who is younger under special circumstances to be admitted into the TK program. And then the policy is also updates to reflect new law SB 141, which was in 2023, that if an offer is made and their space is permitting, that that it requires any classroom that includes this early enrollment child to maintain a classroom enrollment that does not exceed 20 students and an adult to student ratio of at least one adult to every 10 students. And then finally, additionally, the policy updates to include that average TK class enrollment does not include students who are continuously enrolled in or meet the minimum day requirement for independent study for more than 14 school days in a school year. I know that's a lot, but when I was going through these two policies, specifically transitional kindergarten, I'm trying to relate it to what our reality is here. The CSBA advice was that to have this just in case you have a situation that you, so that's the update. Yeah.
In the first one where it says mental health instruction, is that by somebody, can that be by a teacher? Or does it need to be a counselor, or is it just left open?
No, it didn't indicate that it had to be a specified credentialed teacher or certified.
Does anybody have questions? No? Okay. All right, we're finally on to action items. Does anybody need to take a break? A 5-minute break? Okay. Okay, we're on B. Approval of classified and certificated salary schedules 2024-25. Action item.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Dr. Williams. Tonight, I would like to bring for approval an updated classified and certificated salary schedules for the 2024-2025 school year. Pacifica School District collaboratively engaged in collaborative bargaining with labor partners CSEA and LSEA during the 2024-2025 school year. Both groups received salary increases, which are reflected in the updated 2024-2025 salary schedules, which were attached. Compensation increase includes a 2% salary increase beginning January 1st, 2024 for both CSEA and LSEA employees. In addition, CSEA and its chapter number 128 unit members received an 8-year anniversary payment of $300, and LSEA unit members received a $1,000 longevity stipend after 15 years of service in the Pacifica School District. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the 2024-2025 Pacifica School District classified, certificated, and school psychologist salary schedules.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, moving on to C, approval of Pacifica School District calendars 2025-26 and 2026-27.
Tonight, we would like to bring for approval the Pacifica School District calendars for school years 2025-2026 and 2026-2027. The attached draft calendars were created jointly by LSEA and the Pacifica School District. A meeting was held on April 22nd, 2024 with LSEA to draft the two calendars. During the drafting process of the two calendars, we used Jefferson Union High School Districts 25-26 and 26-27 school calendar, along with feedback from educational partners to support an alignment of common school breaks, as we know many of our families have children in both school districts. The calendar drafts was shared with CSEA on May 15th, 2024 for input on CSEA holidays or any other related questions. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the school calendars for the 25-26 and 26-27 school years.
Are there any questions? I think this is a goal we've been trying to do for a while. Okay, is there a motion to approve the Pacifica School District calendars 2025, 26, 26, 2026, and 27?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we are on D, approval of resolution number 2024-5-22T, education protection account. Josie.
Thank you. So with the passage of Proposition 30, the state created the EPA, which is the Education Protection Account. And that was really in the time when the state was deferring revenues to school districts. It really impacted LCFF school districts. So that ensured that we received a quarterly payment, even when the state was having a budget deficit and not able to pay schools. So basically, the state controller calculates the amounts, and it's a requirement as receiving these funds that the board makes a spending determination during an open board meeting. Now, just to remind you, it's not additional funding, it's just a shift from getting the monthly LCFF apportionment to getting a lump sum quarterly payment, just to ensure our cash flow. It helps school district with cash flow. So there is a board resolution attached along with the amounts from the CDE for 23-24 and 24-25, and Pacifica School District is spending these funds all in the instructional category.
Are there any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve or motion to adopt resolution 2024-5-33T?
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
We're on D. Will, approval of 2024-2025 outdoor education contract.
I love doing this every year. I think I said that last year too. What's presented for you for approval is the outdoor education program that we provide all of our fifth graders. As you all know, it's paid by parcel tax. So no student has to incur any of the costs for that trip. And it's obviously a wonderful experience. I did it for many years when I was a fifth grade teacher. I love presenting this item because it's such a great thing, and I hope they continue to do it forever.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the 2024-25 outdoor education contract?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'm sorry. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
All right, we are now on F, contract for Sunset Ridge School Library Extension and canopy replacement. Joseph.
Thank you. So CC held the bid opening on May 6th, and she did receive two bids, Cal Pacific and Evra Construction. Evra Construction is currently the lowest responsible bidder. So we're asking the board to award the contract to Evra Construction, Inc. And to authorize staff to enter into a contract with that company.
Are there any questions? I just have a comment though. If at the beginning of the year, if somebody could like put how much we spent, like just listing, and how much it actually cost, like after all of the revisions, or what do you call those?
Change orders.
Change orders, thank you.
CC has a fabulous spreadsheet that we can summarize for you because it's
Exactly,
quite detailed.
because even those, I mean, that's why I still don't understand why we go at the lowest one, because in the end, it may not be, you know, lower than what the higher one said.
That is true. And usually the change orders are due to unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah.
For example, the mold at, you know, the Sunset Ridge issues. So, you know, you don't want to have change orders, but you do find things.
We're gonna get change orders with the high day too. Yeah.
But that is, we can look for a summary of, the change orders do go to the board. for approval, but it's piecemeal for you.
Yeah.
So we can ask her to do the contracts that had change orders, the original contract, the change order, and then.
Yeah, just like a comparison of what the bid was and what it actually came out to would be interesting.
Besides the lowest responsible bid, because we're not obligated to take the lowest one. If we
Yeah.
think it's
Maybe
not
we can
reasonable.
start looking at
Yeah.
that too. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
Now we are on G, possible cancellation of July 10th, 2024 regular board meeting action.
So it is recommended to the board that we cancel the July 10th, 2023 meeting as the summer meetings have posed some conflicts for some of our members. And so either to cancel, or we can, if someone wants to reconsider to move it to we could do that as well if there's a motion.
Make a motion to cancel.
I'll second.
All in favor? Maybe even wait for you to talk, but we'll have.
An initial meeting, so maybe not end of January, we still have to have the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because of the other.
There may be a need for.
There may be a need for something. Yeah.
All right. We're on, Board of Trustees and Superintendent's recap and future agenda items.
I just wanted to say, thing I did get a chance to say before Tyler left, but having the kids here has been a real nice addition. And so thank you, Dr. Williams, for bringing that.
Yeah.
So I look forward to next year's team.
Yeah. I wanted to publicly acknowledge both Calypso and Tyler for doing an amazing job. We started the second semester. Thank you to Mr. Bartfield as well for your support and organizing our meetings as well. But the kids and having their voice, and even to come to the budget development meetings to have input and also to continue to challenge our thinking to make sure that students are not only represented by voice, but also by action in terms of making solid recommendations to help advance our agenda and our goals. So I'm just over the moon joy, excited and impressed by the caliber of students that we have here at Pacifica School District.
All right, anybody else? I just want to thank all of the retirees. You too, Will. It's been a pleasure working with you.
This mean I don't have to be at the next.
No. We'll see you on.
We're having the.
Totally retired.
The meeting is adjourned at 9:28.
What happened at the end of June, Sam?